Your little stretch. Big stretch.
Don't look at my armpits. I haven't shaved in a long time.
Now I'm getting over there.
No zooms allowed. Hello, everyone. I'm in my pajamas.
I'm trying to show you my armpits. Are you back in bed or are you on your couch? You're on your couch this time.
I had to go to my couch in my studio. And by
after
studio,
recording
I mean
an episode,
really messy.
I was gonna say, after recording an episode in bed, what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? What are the pros and cons?
This is so much easier.
Okay.
It really seemed like such a delightful idea. I think I need to find the in between, which I think is like getting a comfier seating arrangement that feels more natural. I sit here, my back hurts. It's just not really the most like.
I know what you mean. I'm literally, by the way, this is like shiplap.
It's like a wall
so like, I'm
behind
just like,
you. Yeah.
A wall. Yeah. I'm in my breakfast nook until further notice.
Yeah,
so
see, it's like you think like, oh, well, I'll just sit here. But then it's like 3 hours later, you're like, oh, God. And so I thought laying down would help. It didn't. Laying down for 3 hours and trying to prop something up actually gave me like worse headache than anything else.
Oh.
So I'm back.
You know
back.
what I would love like an egg chair to sit in with you.
Do you think? Okay, but my fear would be like every time I have to pee or do something, it would be like
it would suck.
Hoist.
You have to commit to the sitting down situation for sure. But once you're in, made in the shade. Maybe have Blaze come over and tuck you in with a blanket. You know?
Okay, so like one of those where you have. Okay, I don't really ever use an egg chair. Is that different from the kind that you balance, like the old wicker ones we had on our porch?
In my mind, that is an egg chair.
That is an egg chair. Okay. In my mind, an egg chair is those retro ones where you like pull the cover down. Am I crazy?
Pull the cover down?
Yeah, like at IKEA, they have them. Hold on. Like those mod chairs that look like little eggs.
I don't know.
I'll send you a picture because I think I'm
maybe egg chair is like a category and there's like different size, like it's one family.
This is what I think of this red and white thing.
Yeah, but, I would say that's also an egg chair,
right? But like that looks cozy, like one of these like hanging situations.
You know what I want desperately, Christine, is one of the hanging swinging egg chairs.
No, I know that's it. That's the key.
But talk about getting out of something. I would be going a million times.
I got one of those. It wasn't an egg chair, but it's like a hanging chair for our balcony, and we have yet to set it up. But maybe once that's set up, I can just sit outside. What could go wrong?
Talk about the ambient sounds. I would hear you and your little bird buddy or whatever.
Oh, it is next to the bird buddy is where it's going. So yeah, I'd be just bird watching with you all. And I mean, what could go wrong except that currently, let me check, 13 degrees out. I think maybe not today.
And every dog, also, I personally have reservations, I guess, about a hanging piece of wicker holding my body weight. So,
you do, huh? I wonder why. Yeah, me too. I think that subconsciously there's a reason I got that 2 years ago and still haven't hung it up. I think I'm a little bit afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know there's a chain eventually, but there's other things before the chain, and I'm going down with that chair for sure.
There's a chain reaction also when gravity combines. Yeah. How did it feel for you versus this normal experience for me to sit here versus in a bed? You like the bed part?
I like any time that you're engaged, whether or not a double chin's involved. Because here's the thing, though. Again. You didn't even have a fucking double chin. So actually, no, I was more mad at you when you were lying in bed.
That's very kind. I definitely did. I think probably part of the exhaustion afterward was from all the strength it took to not show my double chin the entire 3-hour long period. I think if I had fully just been laying like I was watching Call the Midwife or something, you would have seen a different angle. But thank you.
I wanted to see frazzled Christine, like you said, oh, I'm recording from bed, but you'd clearly gotten out of bed, spruced up, and then got back in bed. I want to see the nitty gritty fugly Christine out of bed.
That's a really big statement.
It's a tall order for you, not for me.
Okay.
I think it'd be funny. Maybe we should do that. Maybe one day we should do Remember during lockdown we had and that's why we drink from our couch. We should have
Yeah.
lockdown from our beds, and it's like right after we wake up, we're so groggy. Like, let's just see how much information we can pull out of ourselves. We should just start experimenting, spice it up.
Okay. I mean, listen, I'm 100% in. If it involves me not moving my body, that's fine. I'm in 100%.
It'd be a lot of raspy, like, oh, let me roll over.
It would be a lot of, oh wait, I have to pee. Oh wait, I have to take my Zoloft. Oh wait, I have to take my Adderall. Oh wait, I forgot my water. Oh wait, I forgot my pants. Yeah, it would be a lot
100%.
of just like, maybe we'll do a Patreon for those who are just destined to take whatever content we throw at them, and it's usually really a mess. And they seem to like it okay.
I do think at some point you and I should at least have some sort of like a live stream or something where you and I are FaceTiming, but it's like a spooky sleepover. I feel like we've talked about that in the past,
Hell
but now
yes, let's
but
do
I think that'd be
that.
fun.
We could do like a Valentine's Day one. I was trying to think of what holidays are coming up.
That's romantic.
I know.
Okay.
In
Let's do
bed.
that. Let's make a Scorpio.
Ew.
Okay, Christine, I gotta ask, why do you drink this week?
Thank you for asking. When you're just like really heartbroken.
What happened? Oh, why?
I'm just having a really hard month, but it's okay. It's just like, when you're really heartbroken about something and then you just have to keep going and the world just keeps spinning and it's fine, but you just keep having reminders. And I'm not divorced, everybody, I promise. It's not about Blaze. It's about a different person that I was close with that I've had an interesting experience with in the last couple of months. You know that thing when people say, hey, set boundaries, and I said that seems like a good idea, and then my therapist said, I just want to warn you, when you set boundaries, some people don't like it and they really
Yeah.
fight. And I said, what are you talking about? And then I've learned what that meant in the past couple months in a variety of ways. Yeah, it's not
ugly.
cute. It's very ugly. It's very hurtful. But it's okay. If anyone's felt like I've been off maybe in my bed for some reason, or just like a little too off the wall or a little too...
Christine and her single chin are just a little frazzled these days.
Oh, no, you froze. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Oh, do you want me to say your single chin again? You want me to talk about that?
I didn't hear you say that. Yes, I do want.
If from the bed, you and your single chin are acting a little
just
frazzled sometimes.
One
that's
tear
why.
down my very, very chiseled jawline. If you ever caught any of that. No, but seriously, I think it's a tough time for everybody. Post holidays, New Year. Hey, today's inauguration day / MLK Jr. Day, and Leona said, "What's that?" And I said, "Talk to your father."
Not today, girl.
Yeah, not today. I did tell her all about Martin Luther King Jr. And then I said, now when you talk about this in school, pay attention. But I don't want to talk about inauguration right now. You'll learn about MLK soon enough. But right now I can't think straight. So it's just one of those, days where I'm like, wow, everything just hurts in my soul and heart and body. But I am really, really grateful to be here. And I'm really grateful that my boundaries are working, despite the fact that they suck. Thank you, Em.
I'm also very, very proud of you. The fuck is going on?
I don't know.
Sorry,
You
something
froze
just happened
again.
behind me. Of course, it interestingly keeps freezing as I'm complimenting you.
Wait, no way. The computer's like, cannot compute. Cannot translate into zeros and ones.
I was saying, I'm very proud of you because
Thank you.
I don't know everything that's going on, but I know some of what's going on, and I've been there, and it's not fun at all.
You've been there. You haven't been to my particular Abbey in the road. That's not a word. Particular, just because it's so absurd that it sounds like I've invented it in the most fictional, half-assed way possible that nobody would ever believe. It's so fucking bananas that it sounds like, just wait for my memoir someday, guys. Okay, nobody really cares about my life. I know. I mean, I know you care about my life. One day I want to write a memoir just to get all this shit out of my head. So maybe if you're really interested, someday it'll come out there. But for now, just know that things are turbulent. But yes, thank you very much. That's very kind, and I know you've had very similar parallel experiences.
I am going to exercise my privilege in knowing you. I won't be waiting for the memoir. I will just text you.
Well, you're the only one who hasn't heard the story. I mean, I'm telling you, I've told this now to 3 people, and The only thing really that's the silver lining here is the faces of the people to whom I tell this story are like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, that's not even the half of it. And then I get to say like the next plot twist, and then everyone
That's
goes,
always fun.
holy
You know,
shit. And I go, I know, right?
with every curse, there's a gift. And even if the gift is something as slim and tiny as like, oh, but the expressions on people's face when I get to tell them is kind of priceless. You know,
Right?
you gotta take your
You
blessings where
get
you
it.
can. I'm excited to jaw drop for you with my double jaw.
Yeah, just
But
call me later. It's your double jaw. I'm really excited to give you triple jaw, triple chin. That's how far your chin's gonna go down.
Well, it'll just be below the floor.
Yeah, underneath. In
I
hell.
am I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Emma. That's very nice.
I don't have to know the details to know like what the grand gist of it all is, and
Yes.
I am very proud of you.
Thank
Also, good luck to you explaining. Well, I guess you don't really have to explain the inauguration to Leona because she will read about it in a book one day.
She's living it, you
if
know.
books aren't
She's
banned,
living.
you know.
She's living history.
I never even asked what you drink.
Uh-oh, you keep freezing.
Please stand by. We have to step away.
Well, it's been 48 hours and I'm back in my bed. So I I left and I said I'm never going back, and then our internet went out and now I'm back in bed. I gave up on my lofty dreams. But I think it's set up better. I don't know. I have a new microphone, the one that you bought, the USB mic, the mini one. See, let me show you. Yeah, I mean, I just plugged it in for the first time. We'll see how many complaints we got.
You sound beautiful. You sound like you're in high definition.
I am.
Yeah, we decided that we were going to get matching tiny mics, and my purpose was so when I'm out traveling, if I end up really liking a place and I don't want to leave my adventures, but we still have to record, I am now bringing a microphone with me from hotel to hotel, just in case.
I mean, that was my plan too, but very quickly my priorities changed, and now it's become the microphone I use in bed. So
okay,
yeah, you know, it's like things change, people change. I just I start what's the word? Decaying. What's the word for like it starts
rot,
but like when it starts to fall apart, disintegrate. That's what's happening.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I think for a disintegrating lady, you look dazzling.
Thank you so much. I'm dazzling and disintegrating. It's like the weirdest oxymoron ever. It was excruciating. I told you why I drank this week 2 days ago, and then before I could hear your reason, everything went to shit, and I couldn't hear you at all. So I would love to hear the reason you drink and continue this half of the intro. our poor team is like, I'm so sick of these idiots. We're like, hey, we recorded for like an hour and a half, but we only have 15 minutes of content to show for it. We'll do the rest later this week. You'll find it eventually.
Everyone take a sip of whatever you're drinking for Jack, our editor, because he really does have to just put up with a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
You would think that we're professionals by now, but the only reason we got this gig is because everyone liked what bumbling idiots we are, and we've kept it going.
Yeah, and it like you might be thinking, oh well, now they're just putting it on for show. I wish that were the case.
No.
Wouldn't that be fun if we could just
don't
pretend?
change that much.
Yeah, couldn't we pretend to be dumb at recording? That would be a lot easier for me, but no, alas.
Thank you for asking. One, I drink because I have given up hope on anything Wi-Fi of this fucking house that I bought. You'd think if you buy a house in Los Angeles, Wi-Fi would be fine. That would be part of the gig.
I didn't think that, but that's because I moved far away because I was like, I don't know what's going on in this town, but things are looking wonky.
Yeah, so we do it old school here now with an Ethernet cable because there's just no other option at this point. So I drink because I've had to bring dial-up back to the game, but also
that's not quite how it works, but yes.
It feels like it when I literally have to plug the computer in.
It just means it's a desktop now.
That's a good point. And then what else? Oh, I drink 2 reasons. One, because I was out with Allison this weekend and we ran into a couple who recognized me, and I think their names, oh God, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. I think their names are Kathy and Raphael. They said, "Hi, it's you," and then they said, "We met because of the show." And I
No
thought it was so sweet that
way.
they,
That's
I guess
beautiful.
they met at one of our live shows.
What? That's adorable.
I know. And so anyway, that's why I drank. That really got me in the right mood, despite all the things that got me in a bad mood this fucking week.
This is a rough week, man.
I mean, I drink for all those reasons too. TikTok resurrecting into some weird uncanny valley version of itself.
I can't stand it. I went on there that first day. I was like, let me see what's going on in here. And I was like, this is like fucking Mad Max, but we're pretending it's not Mad Max. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like the facade of TikTok on top of like just complete chaos. I don't know. I don't like
And then
it.
on top of that, we are recording this just after the inauguration speech and that crazy hand gesture someone made.
Yeah. Well, everyone's saying he's just so awkward. He's just one of us, you know?
Isn't it funny? Yeah.
Isn't it funny how relatable Elon Musk is? That's what I always say about him. I'm like, I feel like I could borrow
And I've always
a
said that.
tire wrench from you, except I don't know what that is, and I'm sure he doesn't either.
You know how he would hand the wrench to you. At least that. At least that.
Yeah. At least I know a thing or two.
So we're dealing with that over here. That's the other negative reason I drink. The positive and most apropos reason why I drink, Christine, though, I've been waiting to tell you literally for like a week and a half now.
What? Tell me.
I controlled a dream. Like,
Shut the fuck up. Okay, hold on. Whoa. Woo, sweat everywhere. Okay, hold on. Wow, last week you told me you had a tattoo. I mean, what's happening?
I'm just becoming you. I'm
I'm a
trying to
little
just
worried.
morph into
No,
you.
I'm just like, I feel like I can't keep up with all the life changes that are happening for you right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will say a bad reason I drink is because ever since that day, I have chased the high and can't do it again.
No, why do you think I have books and journals and rip my hair out and follow YouTube channels? I mean, it's just like all you think about. Tell me everything, Em, please.
Okay, so one of the things that I think helped, which there was no controlling this, I don't think.
Just random.
But often in my dreams, I have like regular locations. You know, how, like on like Friends, there was always Central Park.
A set, yes.
Yeah. So I have a regular set, which, yikes, tell me if my work is affecting me or not. My regular set in my sleep is the Burbank Airport.
Oh, that's a good one.
And
like
so
a good one to remember.
Anyone can walk through, walk by.
Now here's what you have to do, Em.
Huh.
When you're at the Burbank Airport, like for tour, you have to check every time you go in if you're dreaming, even though if you know you're not, because in your dream you'll also know you're not.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, and so you got to just do it every time you go in, and that way, because mine is my high school or my middle school.
Yeah, you
which
can't get back there.
Ugh. So every time I'm in like my middle school hallway, I'm like, no, I'm not supposed to be here. So yeah,
That's good though.
The airport.
So so it's the airport, and often that's where dreams that Eva is in appear because
That makes
obviously
sense.
her and I are always in the airport a lot together. But I was having a dream that I was in a Starbucks and I was at a speed dating event
Oh, intriguing.
and in that moment something felt weird when I was mid conversation with somebody but the weird part was like I turn and like look over to the other side of the coffee shop in Burbank Airport and Allison's walking by and I didn't have the moment of like, oh, I'm cheating. I had a moment where I thought like, I wonder how she'd feel about this. And
And that's when oh my God.
and so that made me think like, why am I speed dating right now?
No way. That's quite a complex thought process. I'm usually just like,
Well,
hey, that's not a real dog.
well, also it's like it's interesting because the thing that had disturbed me, if I saw Eva there, I probably wouldn't have even thought
No.
anything because she walks through the
Every
airport
time
all
you
the time
see
with me.
Eva now, you're going to be like,
Am I speed dating? What's
am
happening?
I speed dating? Call Allison.
But I think it's like sad in some ways because it shows how little I travel with Allison. But seeing her in the airport was like, why the hell is she traveling
too
with
uncanny.
me? I was like, this should rock me from
You
another
don't belong
dimension.
here.
So I remember thinking like, where is she going in an airport without me? But I'm also at the airport. That's weird.
Yeah.
And I remember having this moment of being like, am I supposed to, like, what's going on? Anyway, so from there I was like, that feels as wild as a dream. And then I went, am I
Oh
dreaming?
my gosh. Wow.
And then I went, I think I'm dreaming. And then I remembered in my dream the thing to do the finger thing.
Yeah. Yay. Oh, I'm
But
so
I-
happy right now.
But I didn't do the finger. I put my hand. I saw a wall and I was like, I'm gonna
That's
try to
what
put
I
my
do.
hand through that. And so my hand went through the wall and I went, oh shit, this is a dream. And then I went, I'm going to throw my whole body into the wall.
Yes, that's what you do. Just fucking impulsive decision making.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
So I thought, I'm staring at the wall in my dream and I remember thinking, this could really hurt. And I was like, but if I'm dreaming, it's going to be fine. And so we'll just see how it goes. And I just ran into the wall and all of a sudden I was like in another world. It was very cool.
That's so
and then I
cool.
kept controlling the dream for what felt like an hour, but it was a lot of, but I kept sticking my hand in things all the way through.
That's what you do. That's what you do to ground yourself. Wow, Em, you are a champion. I knew you'd be good at this. I knew it. Ever since you told me you don't have lucid dreams, I was like, there's something about you. It's going to happen. It's going to click.
I remember at one point there was, I even found like I stuck my hand through like paint.
Wow.
And I remember seeing the paint dripping off my, like the elasticity, and it was like almost dried paint, so it was kind of stretchy up from the other side.
Yeah, isn't that remarkable?
And I was like, wow, look, my whole hand can go through this. Yeah. And then at one point someone walked by, and I remember always hearing on like TikTok and everything, may she rest in peace, that that you're never supposed to ask someone like their age or why they're there, because like you might be. I always, and maybe that was something I should have listened to, but instead I went over to him and I went, how old are you? Or am I dead? Or I said some crazy thing.
Then they get weird.
And he looked at me and he paused, and we both at the same time went, like, you shouldn't have said that.
Wait, that's hysterical. Em, your brain is amazing.
And then I remember thinking like, I don't know, I was able to control a few things. And the whole time I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is a dream. Like I was very aware the whole time.
That's amazing. Especially for your first one to be that like involved. Because the first time I realized it, I was like, oh my God. And then I woke up and I was like, mother.
Yeah.
Effer. But yeah, it's the grounding, like where you're like about to slip out of it and go back into dreaming. And you're like, no, you have to like make your consciousness present, which is so hard when you're just distracted by everything. And that is, wait, so when you went through the wall, what was on the other side?
Oh, okay. So I think there was a time shift because, early context is not that I guess I've been trying to lucid dream just because you can do it. And I was like, maybe I can give it a shot. I didn't mean to make it a lucid dream thing. It was just a way that I was meditating at night to like fall asleep.
Oh, that'll do it. Your hypnagogic state.
And so, I call it breaking into Wallace, which is so stupid.
Excuse me?
Breaking into Wallace, because at some point I had a dream where I remembered very vividly going into another world, and the only way I did it was by punching through a wall, and I named the wall Wallace for some reason.
No.
And so now I'm like, okay, as I'm falling asleep, just try to break through the wall. And so I literally just meditate on like punching a wall until it becomes a different texture, and then I can get through, like climb into the wall.
Oh my God. So you like basically walk yourself into a dream.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's one of the biggest techniques that they say to do if you wake up in the middle of the night. It's so much easier to like just drift right back into a dream. And so if you stay conscious enough as you fall back asleep, you can almost like walk back into your dream. And it sounds like you're doing that, but from
the beginning.
Awakeness, which is like really hard to do. Wow, Em, you're like a fucking prodigy.
So, thank you. Well, so walking, when I ran into the wall, I feel like I accidentally went backwards because I think because when I tried to dive into the wall and see if my body would go through it, it was like breaking into Wallace.
Into Wallace. Okay, wait. Sorry. Now I feel like I'm dreaming because this sounds so insane that I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I'm inventing this. It feels like something I'm going to tell Em on the podcast. Like I had the weirdest dream that you named a wall Wallace.
I did, and I break into it every night to get into my dream state.
But I love that because that's what I did because I kept putting my finger through my hand and it wasn't working, and I was like, oh, this dream's trying to fool me. Like it's trying to, because my finger wouldn't go through, and I was like, I know this is a dream. So I was like, I looked around, there was a brick wall, and I was like, fine, watch me put my hand through it, and I put my whole hand through it, and that's when I like realized I was lucid dreaming. So I did that same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key, everybody.
I pretty much like I like kind of do this move a lot with Wallace until all of a sudden I notice like the stone is becoming like a putty, and then I just kind of like,
me of that like American Horror Story, like latex, like that creepy...
kind of, but I think more like sensory dough.
Yeah, I get that.
And then I just kind of climb in
you
once
like
the wall's
peel your
soft
way
enough.
into a new world. Wait, so when you said So what does breaking through Wallace mean? Does that mean you fall asleep, or does that mean you
That
start?
means I'm in the mainframe. I've broken through. I've like crawled enough in that I'm now in the dream. Like I'm now like in a dream state.
Wait, so have you been lucid dreaming this whole time when you do that?
If that's lucid dreaming, then yeah, I guess.
I don't know. But like, how do you
'Cause
know you've broken into the Wallace?
I'm asleep. Usually, I've been dreaming. I've been
I
actively
see.
dreaming. But
Okay.
it seems to be something where like I sit there and meditate and until the point of being asleep. And I don't know if it's I don't know. I'm already such an active dreamer that I don't know if I'm doing anything by trying to start off in a dream as soon as I fall asleep.
Mm.
But anyway, I've been calling it breaking into Wallace as a term of like, okay, close your eyes, like try to go to bed, just break into Wallace, try to start dreaming. And then
Wow, and that's just when you first go to bed.
yeah, that's how
I'm
I
just
try.
taking notes for tonight.
That's just how I just try to fall asleep by getting myself into a dream. Maybe that's
so-
why I have such a hard time falling asleep because I'm doing two things at once.
Yeah, you might because you're working. Do you when you dream? Oh, sorry, when you fall asleep. What was I going to ask you? Is it because like I have just insomnia? Like I'll just lay there for hours. Do you have a very like vivid and tactile imagination? Is that like how you're able to like do the pulling through the wall? And does it?
I guess
do
so,
you-
yeah.
Are your eyes closed and you like feel it, right? Like you imagine it.
hmm
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
just, like,
I
so
pretend
curious.
I'm truly there.
Wow.
Um,
You may have you're maybe like sending up a new technique. I don't know.
a new method.
Yeah, new method.
But anyway, so I just sit. I've always just thought it was just meditating. I didn't know it might be actively trying to
It
enter
is
a
meditating
dream.
too. Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you. Well, so anyway, it worked, and all
You
of a
should try
sudden
it
I was
during
at
the
the
day.
airport. Oh, honestly, I have fucked myself up with it
That'll
because
fuck you up,
even
probably.
just talking about it, I got really tired. So,
Oh, I see. It makes you sleepy. I
yeah,
see.
it's like, oh, now I think about because also like, what's more tiring than trying to break through a wall with your bare hands? You know,
I mean,
so,
honestly, that's really interesting. I wonder if tonight, maybe you and I both. I'll text you. Well, you go to bed late, and I go to bed late, but not as late because you're 3 hours ahead. Or
we get a
behind me.
second in another realm together.
Okay, so I'll just say like I'll break through Wallace now, and then you find where I broke through Wallace, and you come join me later when
Okay.
you come to bed, and maybe then we'll both be like behind the wall, over the Wallace together.
Yes, maybe we'll
Through the
see.
Wallace? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's something I just say in my head. Obviously, why would I say that publicly like I am right now? I sound like a crazy person.
Don't worry, I won't tell anyone because it actually actively makes perfect sense to my brain. So I'm like, that's why I thought I was dreaming. I was like, this sounds like something I would make up, and then it's not. So wow.
I do remember naming the wall Wallace in a dream.
In
and
a
I
dream.
remember,
See, that's amazing.
and I remember in the dream thinking, "Now that's comedy.
Now that's
good."
gold. That's like the time that you dreamed that you invented the names. Or
Oh,
you,
Lydia Chlamydia and Leah Gonorrhea. Yeah,
like your brain. This is what I'm saying. It's a palette. It's a dazzling palace. I feel that you don't give it enough credit, and I also feel that that
Thank you.
I knew someday this lucid dreaming would like kick in for you, and I knew you'd fucking love it because I mean, you literally can create a world. Like it's like VR, but
I am
feels
chasing that
real.
high.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
because I also when I'm trying to get sleepy, I've done the thing I've told you before where I pretend I'm Iron Man and flying
I do
around.
that too sometimes, and it actually is calming. I've tried that.
It's very calming, but it doesn't make me sleepy. I think because I've done it too much that my brain now goes, I know this game. That's not going to work
It's
anymore.
like we'll just do it on loop.
Yeah, so I had to come up with a new tactic, which is the breaking into Wallace.
How long have you been doing that?
Like a couple months.
Interesting. And
Not
it
even a
works?
month. 1 month. Yeah, it works. Seems to work. It worked that one time. I just keep
That's
waiting
so
for it to happen
cool.
again. So anyway, that's why I drank because I have first crack out of the box. I just was okay. I guess I'll lucid
I
dream.
feel like now whenever we see a wall, we just need to like put our hand
Touch.
through it.
And there's a lot of walls.
Oh man, they're everywhere. These walls. Who knew?
Have you ever seen that? People ask the question like, "What do you think there's more of? Doors? Was it doors or wheels, or something?"
Oh yeah, it's a fucking annoying. It's like when you're trying to work for Google or somewhere really smart.
It feels like something Zandy would have an immediate
He
answer
knows.
to.
I'm sure he knows it already. Yeah.
It's the same thing with
He used
walls.
to, like,
You don't
take
realize how
those
many
quizzes
walls
for
are.
fun.
Yeah.
That sounds
about-
right.
Talk about joining us in the neurodivergent world because I feel like him and I could really just fall into
It would actually be
a very
scary.
long. I could see it being a very good, sober, in-depth conversation, and I could see it being a really like knockout drunk fight also.
Oh,
Like
ding ding ding.
That's why I like it, because then no matter what situation you're in, it's a good conversation.
It's spicy either way.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, all that to say, I've been waiting like 3 days, 2 days, I don't know how long. I did these notes and I was so jazzed about them, and then my fucking internet went out, and I was so upset because I worked really, really hard on these notes.
It's not going to be in the episode, I don't think, because I'm sure I don't know, maybe we didn't, but I think we stopped recording, but as we were like deciding to cut it short, Em was like, dang it, like basically like hit their fist on the counter, like, darn it, my story was really good, Christy. I was like, wow, I'm just like actually really disappointed. So I've been waiting on tender hooks.
I thank you. I'm very excited. And by the way, I drink this week 2 London Fogs from that shop nearby that knows me by name just by my Uber Eats order, because they always write something on the cups. So yesterday it said, and that's why we drink, all over the cups, because I'm ordering a London Fog, and they're like 3 of them at a time. So who else could be?
Next time it should say, "Are you dreaming?" And then every time,
if they're listening, maybe the cup next time will say, "You've broken into Wallace."
My name is Wallace. Or no, they'll send you an extra. They'll send you an Americano and be like, "This is for Wallace." You put them through a lot.
I sure have. But anyway, this one comes with like a cold foam. It's the most delicious cold foam I've ever had in my life. But I just got it all over my hands, so that's why I'm like licking my fingers like a monster.
Okay, well, I'm actively moving around and trying to be so quiet. So I'm sorry. Everybody has to decide either to listen to me moving around or I'm licking their fingers. I can't decide which is worse.
Oh man, it's such a good drink. I wish you were here to try it.
It's a new year, and it feels nice to develop a new self-care routine, just switch things up a little bit. I don't know if that's like massages, manicures, aromatherapy, just more naps during the day. That's one I always recommend.
I love more naps during the day.
I know, it's always a good one. So if there's hard things for you to stick to, don't worry, you're not alone. But there is one change that you can do that's effortless and will transform your self-care for good.
Yeah, that change is upgrading your sleep with the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll and Branch, which we just said that naps are becoming more and more of our sleep care routine. So this is right up our alley.
No matter the kind of day you had, you'll go into instant relaxation mode when you climb into these sheets.
Also, Boll and Branch is actively supporting those impacted by the Southern California wildfires with donations of bedding essentials like sheets, blankets, and pillows.
If you or someone you know needs additional support right now, apply to their Helping From Home program at bollandbranch.com/helpingfromhome.
Now's your chance to change the way you sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/drink.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND branch.com/drink to save 15%. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
So I recently decided that I was going to hunker down and look at my phone and go through all my subscriptions. Yikes.
Yeah, well.
Yikes is all I can say.
I tried to warn you. It's so sinister, and that's why Rocket Money is like seriously the hero to come save the day from these big companies where you're just like shelling out money and not even realizing it.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings.
So the best part to me is that Rocket Money can also cancel your subscriptions. So like you don't even need to go log in and forget password and all that. They literally do it.
Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features.
Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/drink today. That's rocketmoney.com/drink. rocketmoney.com/drink.
Okay. And by a lot of hard work, I got to be honest, this one was a very easy topic to do because there was no information I couldn't get from the televised version of this.
Oh, I love when that happens.
And so this is pretty much a play for play on something that was televised a long time ago, but I don't care. It's still interesting. And how did I not know about it until now?
Yeah, I don't have time to watch a televised thing unless it's 1,000-Pound Sisters or whatever it's called.
You love them.
I do. And American Primeval, which is so scary.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my God, it's that new Western. And like, I'm watching Godless again. Have you seen Godless?
Didn't know it was a thing.
It's so good. Have you seen Westworld?
I have worked on Westworld.
Ah,
I don't get to
boo,
say that anymore.
boo.
No, I haven't watched it. I have not watched it.
Well, I gotta say, it's about the Wild West, and it's about the trials and tribulations of pioneers going west, Mormons going west, and the tribes that are out there, and they're, teaming up with certain groups, and there's some outlaws, and oh my gosh, it is so gruesome and scary and like alarming that I have to watch the Office Superfan episodes at night just to like undo a lot of the fear of these like shootouts and stuff. Anyway, so I'm gonna get cozy.
It's snuggly, yeah. So this is
Oh, look at my Western little lap thing. My little lap desk is cowboy.
She's Always With You.
Yeah.
Maybe have you broken into Wallace? Why is there Western stuff already showing up now? That's weird.
Oh my god, I love that my brain's like, all right, let's go to the fucking Wild West. She never wants to go anywhere else.
Okay, this is the possession of Gina.
Possession of Gina, just Gina?
Just Gina.
Wow.
Just a simple girl like you and me.
I doubt it. Somehow I doubt it.
So, let me see. How did I write this? I wrote these notes with a plan to like have a certain cadence, and now that it's been 2 days, I think
Iambic pentameter.
Can you imagine?
Honestly,
that'd be so impressive if the whole poem was just a haiku.
We could just tell like the AI, the chat GPT or whatever, like, can you put my notes in iambic? I wonder if it could do that.
That'd be funny. We should do like How I Met Your Mother, the rhyming episode.
That was classic.
Talk about a scripted episode though, because we couldn't fuck around the way that we do, unless we're really good at riffing.
I'm looking at you. See?
Now I'm scared. Okay, here we go. ABC through hang on. Let me just read this.
Let me sing the alphabet real quick. What's happening, ABC?
1, 2, 3. See, it's rhymed.
Check one. What's happening?
Okay. I obviously messed up.
Did you write like
there.
the ABCs of something? Like the ABCs of time travel?
No, I talk about ABC like the news report.
Oh. Okay. I thought you were like, oh, this is another intro class. The ABCs of
ABC. I should have put. I know what I should have put, and I just fucked it up. Okay. According to ABC, that's what I should have put.
Mm-hmm.
Through the 20th century, as people learn more about mental health, obviously we know that the blaming of like possession and needing an exorcism all declined. Yes. Do you know when it was reignited?
Satanic Panic?
Okay, that's a good one. Apparently, Satanic Panic stems from in 1973 when The Exorcist came out, and that just like rejuvenated everyone's fears. Which sounds like we were on our way to paying attention to psychology, and then The Exorcist came out, and then everyone went, never mind demons again.
Damn it!
So our story today is in 1991, which again, Satanic Panic. Thank you for mentioning that.
It's a great year.
And
that's the year that everything changed.
The ultimate demon was born. Yes. So the story is in 1991. A year before that, a Gallup poll came out asking people about superstitions, and 55% of surveyors believed in the devil in the country.
How many?
55%. More than half Americans that at least took this survey believed in the devil. 49%, which I'm just going to call half, believe that people are sometimes possessed by the devil.
Oh my god.
And that was in the 90s. Wasn't
That's
that
a
far
lot.
away. Yeah. I wonder what the number would be today.
Oh, you don't know now?
No, we should look it up.
Here, what is it? Gallup?
Believe in, a Gallup poll, believing in the devil and then believing in possession.
Oh, here we go. From 2023, Gallup News. Belief in 5 spiritual entities edges down to new lows.
Well, thank you. Okay.
74% believe in God, 69% in angels, 67% in heaven, 58% the devil. What?
It's gotten worse? How is, well.
Belief greatest among frequent churchgoers, Protestants, and Republicans.
Well, okay, yeah.
Nearly 3 in 10 do not believe in hell or the devil. Okay, so I guess this is just like...
Girl, your eye makeup.
What's wrong with it?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You're good now. You're good now.
The devil is real.
No, that it worked perfectly as we were in disbelief that people have somehow
Color me
increased their
shocked.
beliefs.
Yeah. So
Um,
apparently, a high of 74 to 59%. Wow. Okay. So it's gone down because here it says that 90% of Americans in 2001 believed in God. 90%. And now it's 74%. So that's a
wow, so that's
significant drop.
interesting that there's a big drop in believing in God, but believing in the devil.
That's
Well,
hilarious. I mean,
I don't know
it's not
because
that surprising.
well, I
Oh
also
no,
think about
68% in 2001 and 58% now. Sorry.
I do think I mean, I guess I fall into that category because I'm pretty staunchly at least agnostic if not atheist, but I also believe in like spirits and
Yeah, you can't be that atheist because
demons,
you
you know?
believe in like coming back to earth and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess that
You
does
have
make
spiritual
sense.
beliefs.
Hmm. Maybe because I have spiritual beliefs, like this, the thing of like I'm spiritual but not religious. So maybe that kind of it nixes
I
God out
think
of
a
the
lot of
situation and keeps
people,
everything else.
yeah, but I think a lot of people say like, "Oh God," or whoever, whatever it is to you. You know what I mean? People are kind of vague about that. I mean,
Hmm.
probably not the 58% or whatever.
Interesting.
I don't
Look at us learning things together.
know. Wow.
So one of the reasons in the 90s why that number might have been influenced of like people, more than half of Americans believing this. One of the reasons it might have been a big deal is because that year that the Gallup poll was taken, there was an announcement made by Cardinal John O'Connor that said that exorcisms, thus demons, are real, have been kept hidden, and the exorcisms are still being used to this day.
What do you mean they're kept hidden? There's literally a blockbuster called The Exorcist. I don't think they're that secretive, but
I think
okay.
hidden from reality,
Yeah.
or hidden from the public as true fact. So,
Okay.
so Cardinal O'Connor, he also stated that not only are these things real and not just made up in movies, but quite recently we just performed 2 exorcisms in New York alone, where I am
Oh,
in charge.
brag.
I know, quit bragging. I authorized these 2 exorcisms, and one of them was performed on a 16-year-old girl named Gina. Which, why are you giving away that much information about a minor?
But I
But
was gonna say, why would you give her information? Why wouldn't you do the not 16-year-olds?
yeah, why wouldn't you
Hmm.
just say 2 people and then end it
Yeah.
there, or
Yeah, I get
not say any of this shit? I don't know.
He sounds like he's trying to prove something.
So anyway, Gina, let's talk about her. She had already been through a couple psychiatric stays and evaluations for symptoms of what would be called today epilepsy and maybe
Mm.
some sort of schizophrenic or a schizophrenic adjacent situation.
Mhm.
Her psychiatrist, which honestly proud that she had a psychiatrist in the 90s because I feel like that was also a little still taboo. Gina's psychiatrist at the time called her, quote, very agitated, struggling with basic self-care needs, and actively psychotic.
Oh no.
So by 1991, her symptoms had kept her out of school for many months. And although this matches the psychiatrist's description in different words, what the church described her as was suffering from violent seizures, suffering from vomiting, probably from the seizures, but I think they're trying to make it sound like she was vomiting like
Mhm.
a possessed person.
Right.
Screaming in odd voices, seeing demons, as well as seeing people who have died. And
Oh no.
the church said that these visions were hallucinations of evil.
Okay.
So she has gotten a diagnosis from both camps, I suppose.
I guess so.
So the church discovered Gina when psychiatry, I guess, wasn't helping enough at the time, and Gina's mom, Felicia, she went to a local healer about Gina because she was just so desperate for answers. The healer, of course, said, oh, she's possessed. Whoopsie daisy. And so Felicia went to a church for help. And that's how we
Okay.
ended up getting this church evaluation of her.
Okay.
So the church put together a team. This is, by the way, I guess how you do it. This is how the exorcisms happen. The church put a team together to evaluate the alleged possessed Gina.
Mm.
Which, how do you put that team together? Like, are they... I can tell you I looked at the team because we'll get to that in a second, but I have seen what the team looked like. I would have thought it's a spooky room full of like high priests. It was like your friend Kelly from down the block.
Okay, you need to watch Evil. You need to watch Evil. That's the
Yeah?
whole premise, is that it's a team of 3, a psychiatrist, a priest. It sounds like a joke. A psychiatrist, a priest, and a scientist, and they're basically hired by the archdiocese to assess whether whether possessions are real or not.
Well, yes, I do need to watch Evil.
It's really good. It's a really good show. Highly recommend to everybody. It's creepy. They do lucid dreaming stuff and sleep paralysis. It's a really good show. But it's like they basically show up on people's doorsteps and everyone's like, "You're the ones the church sent." Like it's like every time. It's like, "Wait, you?"
It's like, are you supposed to be
Sure.
approachable? Is that how this is supposed to
what's
work? I don't know.
happening?
But yeah, so they got a team together, a little squad, probably from the water cooler or something.
Ragtag.
Yeah. Yeah, they were the ones at the snack table. So they got suckered in and became part of this evaluation team. And this team did an investigation on Gina, which, like, what are you looking for that the church didn't already discover?
Watch Evil and you'll find out. There's so many things.
Apparently investigations can take up to 6 months. Fun fact. And that's how long Gina's took. But like, if she's coming in hot with all these like actual symptoms of something else, wouldn't you already kind of have your answer? Anyway, they also had 2 priests leading the case. One was the official
I'm just posting 2 fingers up and a bunch of balloons flew through the sky because it's a Mac graphic when you do 2 fingers, but my computer's too old, so it only
What
works
happens
on
when you
it.
do this? Nothing?
My spirits just flag a little bit. That was a
I
middle finger.
I just wanted to know, like, does Apple do something? Because that would be real
I love
funny.
that they're like, that's too far.
They have such an opportunity for something hysterical. What is going on with everything? Okay. Hang on, let me rearrange my hair because it's out of control today. Great. Oh, so they had 2 priests leading the case. One was the official exorcist of the New York Archdiocese named Father A for anonymous. Okay.
Father Acosta, that's his name on Evil. I'm just saying this is starting to sound really familiar.
Was the person they were doing this to named Gina?
They do a different case every episode. Or not, yeah. But
Okay.
maybe. I'm sure there was a Gina somewhere.
Does this name sound familiar? Father Labar?
There's a something.
Oh, God.
Not
Okay.
Labar.
Well,
Not Labar.
so the first thing that these priests did, or that they at least claimed that they did, was they looked into her medical background. And like, this is a quote from Labar. He said, "You have to make sure the afflicted has no prior or current medical problems." But like, okay, she does. So
Right. So what was her official diagnosis by the psychiatrist?
the working theory was, I mean, he said the phrase actively psychotic. So some sort of psychosis,
But there
along
was
with
no
seizures.
diagnosis of like
So I guess-
epilepsy or anything.
Right. So I'm guessing because there was nothing on paper, they got to
That's
say that she
weird
was
that they wouldn't-
cleared.
But why wouldn't they diagnose her if she's having seizures? Whatever.
Honestly, because she was 16 at the time, maybe they can't tell us an official diagnosis.
Maybe the records are sealed. That's true. Like, why would they be telling us her? Yeah, right. Fair
But like
point.
they did tell us her symptoms, which it sounds like she wasn't leaving the psychiatric facility she had a hold at without a diagnosis, you know? So
Right.
maybe
Weird.
it's just because she was a minor.
Maybe.
But yeah, so the first thing out of this guy's mouth is, well, you have to make sure that they don't have any current medical problems. It's like she's literally she's had psychiatric stays. Like she,
Mhm.
like this is not a candidate you should be doing, even considering an exorcism on. But then again, I guess if you're looking for someone vulnerable who fits a bill, then sure.
Mhm.
After looking into their medical background, they looked into her symptoms to see if they match the criteria for possession. That's a big thing you gotta do before you claim anyone's possessed. Do you know, Miss Thing, with your degree? Do you know
What degree?
I don't know. You keep saying you've learned it on Evil, so let's see if Evil talked about this.
I was like, you and I have the same degree. Don't put me on this one.
What are the 4 criteria for possession? Do you want to take a guess?
Oh, geez. It probably is on Evil. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, there is unusual strength.
Okay.
There is signs of levitation is one of the 4.
Signs and symptoms.
Exactly. What are signs of levitation? Like,
I'll show you. Ooh.
then there's knowing things you shouldn't and speaking languages you shouldn't know.
I mean,
Okay.
that's fair. That would be alarming, all of those things.
But then I feel like unusual strength, Anytime I meet anyone with any strength, I think they have unusual strength. So that's
Good
like, how do
point.
you know what I mean? Like, I
Good
was hanging out
point.
with Tanner, and like he put me in like a headlock, and I was scared for my life. I was like, "You're possessed. You have an unusual
You are
strength."
unnatural strength. Yeah.
And then knowing things I shouldn't. I mean, that's just taking a guess sometimes, you know. So that's two things. Am
what
I
about
possessed?
being psychic? You're also psychic, I think. So I
I
feel
see.
like you may be in trouble.
In my dreams, I have signs of levitation. Certainly.
In your
So
dreams, I've heard you walk through walls.
I have not spoken a language I don't know in any world, though. So I guess that means I'm in the clear. Not
Oh,
possessed.
wait till you do that. It's fun.
Oh, great. Well, so
You
anyway,
convince yourself that you're really speaking, and then like I woke up one time and I was like, I said what I had said in my dream out loud, and I was like, oh, that's nothing. Like I was like, but like I woke up and I was like, I can't believe I was just speaking Russian, and then I like said something, and it was just like a bunch of sounds, and I was like, that okay. My brain gave me a lot of credit on that one.
you know how in AI, like if you look at like what a book says, like the language, it's
Yeah.
not there.
Yes, it's like that.
I feel like that's how I talk in my dreams, because I'll also remember someone said something really fucking wise, and then I say it out loud, and
And
I'm
then
like,
it sounds
did I
so
miss 5 words?
dumb. You're like, why did that seem so mind blowing in my dream? Well, okay, in Evil, there's this episode where they're trying to figure out if she's a scientist, so she's like staunchly atheist, like staunchly, scientific, and there's a part where she has like she has sleep paralysis, and there's a sign on her ceiling with writing, because she realizes that in her dreams she can't read words, like they just look garbled. And so she puts writing on her ceiling so that when she wakes up and if she's having sleep paralysis, she can look at that and see like, oh, this is a dream. And
Oh,
it like
shit.
looks all garbled.
That's a good idea.
And she knows she's dreaming. I was like, that's genius.
Are you going to do that? You're going to put something on your ceiling?
Well, you know what I'll
Blaze.
do? I have my tattoo on my arm. I can just look at my tattoo, and if the numbers look off,
Oh, shit. That's a great idea.
yeah, I just thought of that.
How about you, Christine? Any unusual strength on your end? And
Certainly not. Actually, unusual weakness, I think.
that's what I got. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Like I'm in bed right now. I don't think feats of strength are my strength.
What
so to
about signs
speak.
of levitation?
Again, very, very horizontal, very weighted down right now. But thank you for asking.
Yeah, I guess that could be nuanced, right? Because like sometimes my brain certainly feels like it's levitating.
Right. Like sometimes I leave my body, like physically.
Like sometimes I don't feel so bogged down by society, and I'm like, oh, I feel light today, like I can move.
Right.
Is that a sign of levitation? I don't know. I don't know.
Could be, like metaphorically.
Well, so step 1, assemble a team of church people from your fellowship club, I suppose.
Mhm.
Step 2, have them do a 6-month investigation on you where they check into your medical background, even though you're a minor and definitely have some mental health issues, but let's negate all that. And then step 3, see if they have signs of levitation and some other things.
Okay.
That's so far how an
I like
exorcism
that,
works.
like, in that theory, then, if they're just, like, floating and, like, throwing buses across the city, you're like, but let's start with the medical records.
But they don't
You know what I
speak
mean?
French, right?
Yeah, they're not
it's-
speaking a language. I think they took French in high school, so, like, even if they do speak French, it's not that weird.
I mean, you know what's funny is you and I obviously can speak Latin, which is the one they should fear.
Obviously, and that's scary,
Like,
speaking Latin.
Ecce una spectura is un puella nomine Cornelia. But here's the thing. If I said that in Spanish, I'm more likely to be
Oh my God,
possessed
then
because
you're
I actually,
definitely possessed.
you know what I mean?
By like a Mexican farmer who says the girl in the field. What was it? The girl agricola on the farm. Whatever the fuck that Latin phrasing is.
Well, so this is what Father A had to say about checking out these 4 signs of possession when it comes to Gina. Father A said, sometimes the person I'm investigating will react just by the fact that I've come to see them, which I would also react
Certainly so.
like
Yes,
a monster.
that is reasonable.
If a priest, the archdiocese official exorcist of the
Hey,
state came
called
to visit
Father
me.
Anonymous? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, don't give Father Anonymous permission to enter my bedroom. Are you out of your mind?
I too would have unusual strength all of a sudden when my adrenaline kicked in and I
When I
ran
pushed
away.
him out the door aggressively.
And knowing things that I shouldn't know, I'd know immediately that I was in trouble without
Ding
anyone
dong,
having
red
telling me.
flag.
Oh my god. So anyway, it's interesting that he's like, people just get startled when I'm around. It's
I
like,
don't
yeah,
know what
bitch,
it
you're
is.
the
Is it-
official exorcist.
But it's funny because like on the show, so he's really hot, the priest on Evil, and he's
Of course.
he's also black, so he's always like, yeah, it's always just like jarring. I mean, it's the character on the show, but he's like, it's like he shows up, and when he's wearing his like clerical collar, all of a sudden people are like, oh my god, it's just very like jarring because he's like this sexy hot guy, and it's like, whoa, it just feels very. Anyway, listen, this show is really good.
It sounds like just fan fiction galore.
It's like pretty, yeah. It's like pretty.
Someone rips his
spicy
clerical collar
sometimes.
right off.
I mean, it gets a little spicy for like a TV drama type thing, but it's
Great.
it's good. It's
good
good.
for him.
Mm.
Sorry, now I'm just imagining what's out there on like Wattpad.
Oh,
so-
I haven't even thought to look. Actually, never mind. I don't want to know.
Now you've got something to do.
I've got a hobby now.
At no point, by the way, did the priests that are on this case ever imply that Gina has had all 4 of these signs of possession.
So are they saying like you're required to have all 4 to meet the criteria, or you have to have like 1 or 2 or at least 2?
Based on the fact that she didn't have all 4 and they went along with the exorcism, I'm going to guess you only have to have a certain
It just has to be
amount.
some of them. Okay.
Which, like, can you imagine just being like Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're unusually strong, and now it's like, oh, get on into the church.
Well, have
Time
you
to
heard
go.
that accent? He's speaking all sorts of language.
Certainly not speaking English.
Something's going on.
So yeah, at no point did they say she had all 4. And then, like, remember I said, like, churchgoer Kelly from down the lane?
Uh-huh.
She's the only one who said, oh, I heard a story from her mom that she's levitated in the past.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so
What?
hearsay on hearsay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
She said Gina has absolutely levitated in the past and been dragged through a room by unseen hands. So she's moving around all and around, which isn't even a sign of possession. That one should certainly be on the list.
I would
Getting
say, but
dragged
once you
by
start,
nothing?
yeah, but once you start adding, I mean, levitation just feels so specific. I feel like they should have done like unnatural movements, and then they could have a much broader. But that's also more dangerous because then you have
Right.
seizures and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because then, like, you're a witch.
Might as well stick to just levitating and hope that doesn't happen.
So when the priest observed Gina, these are some of the things that were off, I suppose. She knew that Father A had been up, knew what Father A had been up to the night before and was able to give like actual names, which like
Ooh, cool.
in the 90s is impressive because in today's world we just stalked him before he
It's
came
like
over.
Snapchat, yeah.
It's like I know what's going on. After that, which fun fact, I wonder if because of social media today, can they even insert that claim in the list of possessions of like you have to get more specific now of like knowing things you shouldn't.
Knowing
it's like,
things you don't know. It's like, well, you could know that. Yeah, it would probably have to be much stricter.
Mhm.
But I imagine like even the programs where psychic mediums need to test in to these like really exclusive psychic medium programs. I'm sure that they have very stringent like rules and stuff about, because now that the internet's around, I bet you have to change all the rules
Really
about. Yeah.
ruined a lot for a lot of
I imagine
people.
it's a lot harder to figure out what people. Yeah.
It's really hard to fake your way into an exorcism.
Yeah.
Or a lot easier now, I
A lot
guess.
easier, I guess.
So after all this, basically the two priests on this, Father A and Father Labar, they said, okay, great. Let's go to the bishop, and he gives us the stamp of approval to exorcise Gina, which again, it took 6 months after the entire investigation.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So the bishop said, oh, okay. Yes, she needs an exorcism immediately.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Now, after she'd been approved, this is where elsewhere in the story, ABC 123, ABC News, they are, I guess, looking at that Gallup poll about people's like beliefs in superstition. They're also looking into Cardinal O'Connor saying, oh, exorcisms are very real and they do happen and we've kept it under wraps, except now I'm just going to blurt out impulsively that we've done 2 of them or we're doing 2 of them or whatever.
Yeah. He shouldn't have been the face of this for the press conference because he really needs to keep his mouth shut.
Anyway, I don't know if Cardinal O'Connor had done that speech yet. I don't know if just the Gallup poll was out, but something's going on in the world where ABC was like, we need to cover this as a segment piece.
Okay. This is hot stuff. This is hot
White
ticket
hot.
item.
White
hot on the news. Hot off the press.
Yes. So ABC reaches out to, I guess, all the churches. I don't understand how they found someone, but they reached out and, quote, after several conversations and the full consent of clergy and family, we were allowed to watch an exorcism. And not only watch, they were allowed to broadcast an exorcism on TV for everyone to watch.
So we could all watch.
Yes, exactly. So this piece ended up not just being covered on ABC, but on 2020. Do you remember 2020?
Still watch 2020. Do I remember 2020?
2020 was a mainstay in my family.
2020 is still very popular.
Well, at the time that this came out, I think it had ran for like 13 years, and this ended up being one of the most watched segments in its history. I think almost 30 million people viewed this exorcism in broadcast.
They say sex sells, but Em and I knew from the beginning.
Demon cell.
Ghosts, demons, that's the shit.
It's
that gets
exactly right.
People shelling over the big ones. That's why we're recording from shiplap and bed.
Well, so they ended up broadcasting this exorcism. 30 million people watch it, which I would love if they did some sort of collab, like ABC X Gallup poll.
I mean, nowadays it would be like sponsored by Frito-Lay, and it would have like all this fucking, or like crazy, like what's that one that screwed everyone over, that that Bitcoin, that like
Bitcoin, crypto, Dogecoin,
not Dogecoin, but like it's crypto, like one of those crypto websites that like ended up
crypto.com,
maybe crypto.com. Yeah, I feel like it would be some stupid shit like that.
They would make her wear like some sort of like Citibank shirt, like while she's being exercised.
It'd be like Flo is here. We're like doing celebrity shots on beer pong, but like for exorcist placement.
So they
listen. Maybe we should get into marketing. Fuck this. The whole podcasting thing. The big bucks. I've changed my mind. They're now.
Let me get exercise in my Citibank financial shirt. That sounds like a real wild time. So they're gonna broadcast this. 30 million people. What I was gonna say is I'd love to see the Gallup polls after watching a fucking broadcast of an exorcism and see if the numbers changed. Fun fact. The way that I was able to do all these notes is because of this 2020 segment. So, which is still out there. It's on YouTube.
Is it like very 90s?
Yeah.
Because I watch 2020 like all the time now when it's on, and I feel like I'm so used to it as it's got, because we watched it also as kids. And I feel like I would be so used to it that like getting thrown back to the 90s, I'd be like, holy crap, didn't realize like how absurdly different it is. Obviously, it's been 30 years, but
you know what the real treat is though, is that because it was clearly like someone videotaping this, some dad out there was like, a fucking exorcism being broadcast? Hell yeah, I'm taping that on my VCR.
Honey, I told you I needed to buy that new Sony camcorder from Radio Shack.
Well, so someone videotaped it and then later digitized it and put it on YouTube for us.
Fuck yes. Sorry. Tape the. I thought you meant tape the actual exorcism like with a camera. You mean tape the
someone
program?
Like someone watching the program was like, we obviously have to, because remember back then
like
you couldn't rewatch it later.
Pre-TiVo, yeah, gotcha.
Like you only get one shot, so you have to record this if you want to see it again. So this guy, I'm sure, this dad that I've made up in my head, he obviously taped it on his VCR,
or like one of our listener types, like
someone taped it. They put it on YouTube, and which I like to think that it was actually this video went to Goodwill, and then someone unassumingly bought this video, and it's a fucking exorcism
gold mine.
But because it was just a recording on a VCR of live TV, that means in between are ads. And so if you're wondering how 90s it can get, here are the ads that play in the middle.
This is why I love you. Go
ahead. One for Subaru, and it's a red car that looks like a very old version of mine.
Thumbs up from M.
Team Subaru over here. Sprint, which they called themselves at the time US Sprint.
US Sprint. Were the ads like the same as they are now? Like funny, or were they just like informative?
It was all like a telenovela, like, how do you feel about this?
Oh geez, drama. Okay.
Then an example of that was shocking in the 90s. I didn't know they sold these products publicly. Gynolotrimin, which is for yeast infections.
Yes.
Then
They always had ads for that yeast infection stuff.
your favorite and mine, the Sony Walkman.
Oh, Sony, I knew it.
Avis car rental.
Wow. This is so boring.
ABC Sports was just like their general watch ABC
Yeah.
for our sports. Then there was which I wonder if that was like if this was a formula, like, oh, there are 4 like products that get a sale, or 5 products get a sale, then we just rep ourselves for the rest of it, because the next ones are all things that I think you could find on ABC. So it was ABC Sports. Then it was a TV show called The Young Riders, which sounds very Western to me.
Oh,
And-
Riders. I thought you
Yeah.
said writers. Okay.
No, The Young Riders. And then a movie, an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, fun fact,
Shut up.
called Raw Deal.
Called Raw Dog in It. With Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Raw dogging it with the OG.
With Arnold. Yeah.
So those were the ads in the middle.
Just because I typed in 2020, just because I did, my intrusive typing, and apparently it's on season 47 now. So
You go, girl.
Yeah, get it.
That's
Get
the
it.
raw deal. You know
That's
what I'm
the
saying?
Raw Dog. If I've ever seen one.
So those ads played, fun fact. Now, ABC, like we said, got involved because they wanted to cover exorcisms for whatever's going on in the news. They got some conversation kicked off with this church who was about to do, like, perfect timing, right? Of like, oh, funny you should ask, because we're literally about to do an exorcism on Sunday. You should come on over.
Funny timing. We all saw the same Gallup poll in the Wall Street Journal and decided this was now timely.
So now ABC is following the case, and that is when we get to
Ooh.
watch the rest of this unfold on camera in front of everybody. So post investigation, ABC comes in to film the day of the ritual.
The ritual.
And before the ritual begins, the priests gathered a team of helpers, which I'm wondering if they're the same people who did the evaluation.
Or if it's like they needed someone to be the muscle, and they needed someone to be security, you know?
Want to know the next thing I write?
What?
I wrote out the people that needed to be there and people to restrain her. But in parentheses, I wrote older than I expected
Uh-oh.
because they were like 80-year-old women. Like, what are you
Oh.
doing? Everything feels off about this. Like,
What's happening?
why are we like, this is a girl who should have not been cleared. She has like severe mental health
She's a
issues.
minor and
She's
is
a
in
minor.
active psychosis right now. That
Yes,
feels
which
like
also
wow.
let's think again. Active psychosis. Can she give informed consent right now?
no. I mean, not,
And she's a
especially as a
minor.
minor. Yeah, no.
So anyway, there's that. Then they're bringing people in to restrain her who are definitely like the church elders who like just wanted to be involved, I think, just to
Jesus
say they could
Christ.
do it. But anyway, before that all happens, they have this ritual where they have a meeting with the people who are going to be helpers and basically giving them a 101 at like an hour before it begins. Like,
Oh, like, welcome. Thanks for volunteering today. Here's what's going to happen.
yes, like teaching them
Oh,
on the fly.
no.
So an example is at some point one of the priests tell everyone, do not address her by her name or any other name, because this thing is like looking for an out and wants to be addressed and wants the attention, blah, 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 blah. So don't even speak to her by name. Don't say any of the other names she says might be here. Nothing.
Jeez.
You should not be learning that the hour before.
Yeah, that feels like something that now is going to be on your mind. And you know how they say, like, don't tell anybody, don't do something, because your brain just hears do
Yes.
something? It's like, you shouldn't have said, don't say this. You should have been like,
Also, what if,
say
like,
this.
What if someone you like love recently died and like has a common name like John, and now she's saying the name John? Like, you're gonna react to that, you know? Like, I wonder if
I see. So if they're saying don't react if she says a name, or
if she says her name is Gina or
Oh.
John or Zozo or
Oh,
anything,
I see. Okay. So even if you're like, oh,
It's like,
my
don't-
loved one,
don't
okay.
humor her or don't with anything
Don't
that she
give in
says.
to it. Okay, I see.
So then in this group, I said the people who restrain her, who should certainly have been replaced by other people. Then
I
there's
don't know. I'd be more comfortable with 80-year-old women restraining me than like
that's true.
men.
That's true. But
Just saying.
I don't think they were that conscious in the 90s of that.
I
There
thought you
was,
meant the 80-year-olds. I was like, they were unconscious? Well, that's certainly going to be a problem.
there was a therapist as well, a doctor, a nurse, a translator in case she like spoke any other languages.
That's genius.
That one I was appreciative. And
now
then
technology would be so helpful for that. You just hold up your phone.
Chat GPT. What is
Right?
this demon saying, girl?
Can you put this in an iambic pentameter?
Can you make it rhyme when you tell me so it's easier to digest?
I'd really like to write a children's book after this. Can you just speed up the
Baby's first
transcribing?
exorcism. And then additional priests are also there, I guess, in case people need to tap out. Several days before the exorcism, the priests, I guess, start praying and fasting before they do this thing. Like Father A said that he fasted for at least a week. So now this guy's not in his right mind when he's about to
now
do
they're
this.
hungry and cranky and hangry.
Father A then said, I could die tomorrow. I could be attacked. I could be taken over. It's a very frightening experience. But once you walk down this road, you can't go back.
Oh, okay, relax, fucking Zach Bagans wannabe.
I'm pretty sure I have gone down roads similar to that, and I do come back every time when I go, goodbye, 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 goodbye,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Actively say, I'm leaving, and
I'm leaving.
you
We
can't
are
come with
not
me.
connected to each other. Helpers then get the room ready by removing all things that could be projectiles because she might throw shit everywhere.
Oh, good.
Apparently in past briefings where they have seen, or during the evaluation period where she was like having signs of possession, she would throw certain things and they were like, oh, we have to take this down because she was already grabbing it last time. It's like having a toddler. It's like, well, don't hang that up because she'll just pull it down.
Yeah, there's a knob there. We got to cover the knob. We get the sharp corners. Yeah.
So then Gina stops by the convent and the group and the priest hold a mass with her. And according to ABC, this is a quote, Gina is unaware of her purpose of her visit to the convent. Father A says secrecy ensures demons cannot prepare for the surprise encounter.
Oh, no.
So certainly not informed consent.
How could this get worse? I didn't think it could get worse.
I guess she had informed consent that like it was coming if they were
she
evaluating
sort of
her.
knew that it was happening, right? But
I think she knew like eventually it would happen,
she didn't know
but like
today
it
was
wasn't
the day.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
my
intervention.
God.
And to keep the demons from knowing, okay, whatever. They know the second you start fucking praying over her.
This is like seriously weird.
So it sounds like, well, she's a teenager and she won't want to get out of bed if she knows what's happening today. So like, let's just not tell her. That's
or
what
like
it feels
we're
like.
afraid she's gonna back out. So let's just do it without telling her.
So she shows up thinking she's just there for like a meeting with her mom. And then they start praying over her, doing a literal mass. The team surrounds Gina while the priest has her drink holy water to stir the pot, like piss off the demons, I guess. And then he, quote, probes her psyche to figure out what demons he's confronting. And by probe her psyche, he asked her questions.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say probe her psyche. What, you gave her a questionnaire?
Yeah, he just said like, what are you thinking about? And she was like, I'm thinking I don't want to be here. And he was like, well, you have to be here. Yeah, it's like, then Gina begins retching, as they say. But it honestly, to me, just sounded like she was burping from the holy water.
Gross. That shit has oil in it. Why are you drinking that?
Should not be drinking it. Gina then makes an odd sound. Okay, I did that. Okay. Then in a deep voice, she says, Gina said to me, I have to go. I don't want to go. You understand? You understand I don't want to go. Okay.
Oh my God.
Sorry, girl. You're gonna have to go, I guess.
Creepy.
So the next clip is Gina speaking in another language, which is a sign of possession. But it just sounds to me like I've seen enough of those like coverings of like people doing like speaking in tongues in church. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly.
That's me in my lucid dream speaking Russian. How did you know that?
That's me trying to read a book in AI. Yeah.
How could you understand?
She's speaking in tongues, which I guess is speaking in a language no one else can understand. Sure.
Technically, sure.
Yeah. So I guess. Then they hold her down, all 3 80-year-olds. And then
they were just asleep. They just kind of rolled them on top of her.
By the way, are then like, she's unusually strong. It's like, no, girl, she's just 16. Like
she's not 90.
She's unusually strong for people whose muscle mass decreases over time. Yeah.
This is so wild. It's like, oh, where are our volunteers? And it's like these 3 elderly women. The quilting club has shown up, and you're like, damn it! I thought we'd get at least a few able-bodied young men.
Like, It's like holding down RJ, and I'm like, he's unusually strong. It's like, no, he's just actually trying.
It's actually the exact ratio that the universe has.
He's
in
actually the
place.
standard. You're
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, you have a problem.
So they hold her down and they start praying, and she screams, "Get out of here. I don't want to leave. Me don't want to leave. We all want Gina."
Me don't want to leave. Gross. As if it can get worse. Don't baby talk. That's like
I know.
that like makes me have a retching. I'm gonna retch. Me no wanna leave. Okay.
Okay, yeah, exactly. It's like, let's use some grammar
Okay.
here. If you really want to
Yeah.
leave, you can speak in
Don't
other languages,
pretend
but you
like
can't say
Beelzebub
I.
doesn't know how to fucking read. Come on.
If anything, he knows better English than we do. He's been doing
Big
it longer.
time. His name's Beelzebub.
You could say Beelzebub, but not I. Oh yeah.
Yeah, really got it together.
The priest said that this I really appreciate this part. The priest said that Gina's face then changed in a way where they knew that Gina was no longer present. She
I
just
have
looked
seen
mad,
that, but it's,
girl.
yeah, well, it's not. It's usually a sign of a personality disorder and or active psychosis. Like,
It's a
girl,
great point.
come on. Like, I've seen this face happen to people too, and I'm like,
I think
I'm in-
I've seen this film before.
yes, and I'm going to hell now. But it's all metaphorical. You see, it's not metaphorical. It's real, but it's not Catholic. It's just the state of our brains, and hell is on earth. That's what I believe, Gallup. You got a little check mark for that? Thank you so much for whatever I just said.
And also, like, I mean, she looked really, I mean, she was bugging out for sure. But like when he said, oh, her face changed, she really just looked like a pissed off 16-year-old. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
honestly, and you should be afraid. Like, a bunch of adults who just pissed off a 16-year-old should be afraid.
It feels a little new agey witch trials where it's like, oh, well, she looks really angry and she has unusual strength. It's like she's a hormonal 16-year-old who
hormonal.
has mental
Yes.
health issues, like versus a bunch of like old people in the
Or,
room.
like,
Like, of
oh,
course
she
she
has, like,
scares you.
Skin tags and hair in weird places. It's like, nope, that's just another human. It's just
Yeah.
how it is. It's not the devil.
It just felt very like old ideology meeting like new world problems, or like
Big
fucking
time.
normal world problems, not even new world. But it seems like if anyone our age were there, we'd have been like, yeah, she looks pissed. Everyone's holding her down, chanting over her.
Yeah, it's a very archaic way to talk about a situation that's kind of obviously,
Yeah.
something else.
He then says, this is a quote from Father A. Gina was no longer present. That's when the entity manifested itself by revealing who he was.
Oh my God.
Okay. And then Gina, very creepily, I will say, she said, my name is Minga.
Ew!
And my favorite part, okay, so then in the comments, someone...
Yes, the comments. This is what we needed back then. Today, we have comments. Thank you.
Someone in the comments, I don't know if it was on the YouTube video itself or if I saw it in like a different source, but someone said that her and her brother were like kids when this came out and they remembered watching it. And my name is Minga, the way she said it was so creepy to them that they would just, it became like a staple that they said all the time
An
in their
inside
house.
joke. Yeah.
But they would say to scare each other around
Yeah, of
corners.
course.
And then she said, like, we were both so scared of the basement, so anytime one of us went down there, the other one would shout, my name is Minga.
My name is Minga. I mean, like, of all things, that's one of the creepier ones because it's like sounds playful and childish, but like, what the fuck? That's so creepy.
I just
My name
remember
is Minga.
the way that I wish I kept like a screenshot of like that Reddit comment or whatever, because it was like our favorite thing to say to each other as a kid. And, like we would even say it to like try to make each other laugh in silent spots where you're not supposed to laugh. And you go, my name is Minga.
Yeah. Minga. You could like spell it out in sign language. Be like Minga.
It's like you drawing those fucking sexual stick figures
I was
when we're
like,
on the
honestly,
news.
the power of one of those that like just fucking chokeholds you and a sibling or you and a friend, like it just the power is unmatched.
It got me cooking. So anyway, she says my name is Minga. The priest
That's
then
creepy. I don't like that name.
the priest then puts
Me no like Minga. Hey, how do you feel now, father? Whatever.
well, he then puts a cross on her forehead. And you can see that he's pressing it in a little hard. But so he then says, "You want pain? I'll give you pain," and like presses the cross into her head.
No.
And then Gina whispers, "Ouch."
No.
Which, like, is that the demon being funny, or is that Gina just being like a douche?
Or is Gina like, hey, what the fuck? That hurts.
I mean, later on they do like a post, like 2 months later kind of thing
Interview. Yeah.
and they were asking her like about how it went, and she even says like it just really hurt. He was just pressing into it way too hard. But there you go. Like that wasn't a demon. That was just her being like, "Get the fuck away from me."
Ow.
So then Gina seems to be back to normal for a second and tells everyone that there are 10 demons in her body. 2 of them are Minga and another one named Zion. And before I don't even know what to do with this. I'm just reporting the news, folks. She said Minga is a very short woman and Zion is an African from the jungle. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what that means. Anyway, there you go. In case you were wondering how you could like place them in your head with a very, very broad description.
Cool.
Anyway, so Father A starts to read the rite of exorcism, puts the cross back on Gina's forehead. She starts trying to wriggle away and she screams that it hurts, probably because it fucking just generally hurt. She screams, "Stay away. I don't want to go. Help. Do something. Somebody help me," and then starts screaming in tongues.
Oh my God, this is so dark.
The team of geriatrics hold her down and they actually tie her down because they couldn't hold her because she was
With
so
their
strong.
knitting needles. Susie, pass the speckled 45 of yarn.
I feel like that's a Pixar movie waiting to happen, though. Like in a frenzy, like you can only trust the people who know how to knit really good. They're gonna embroider you to the wall.
Yeah, they're witchy in their. It's like a lady who was going to knitting club, but accidentally went to the coven, and they're like, actually, we could use your powers.
I mean, I know you haven't seen Agatha all along, but she reminds me of like Deborah Jo Rupp's character, who is literally just accidentally there, and she just likes gardening.
Like, oops, I just stumbled into this, but I guess it works.
Like,
somehow.
I guess I'll just actually start knitting it down. All right.
Yeah, fuck yes.
Meanwhile, she's screaming and wriggling as things get too intense.
Oh,
and of
God.
course, as she's screaming, "Somebody help me, get away from me," because she's a person who just wants to be out of the situation. Is it her mental health issues?
Is in distress in some way.
Yeah. So Father A then said, "Thank God they were tying her down because it could have led to levitation."
God forbid we get levitation on TV. ABC News immediately gets the scissors out. They're like, cut those strings. She needs to float.
The producers like hack away at that chair.
they're like, do a peace sign. Balloons fly everywhere. It's just go with it. It'll impress the nation.
So this is what he says. It could have led to levitation if she wasn't held down, because she could have then, if something wasn't holding her down, she would have risen to the ceiling so nobody could touch her. So as like a defensive
that would
tactic,
be pretty kick-ass. I would have loved if
like
that
Spider-Man just, you know?
Right. Like, okay, let's see it then. If that was so bound to happen.
Gina continues to scream and tries to fight off people holding her down. Father A calls this the confrontation stage. You don't say. Father A then said, anytime he looked at her, he could see the hate in her eyes, which she did look like she hated everyone there.
Yeah.
But is it because a demon doesn't want an exorcism?
My mom said that to me all the time when I was 16.
Yeah, but I still make those eyes at my mom.
I'm still doing it, yeah.
Gina then starts shouting, "Sinners, the world is getting worse. More wars are coming. Do you understand? Jesus is going to take all of us. He's going to burn a lot of people."
Whoa.
Which, like, okay, that one I hear you on.
Okay.
Things are not as funny as they were a second ago.
Yeah.
Then she starts barking, and then she's rolling her eyes, which, again, you're 16.
Yep.
She says, "I don't like you." And then she speaks in tongues and wags her tongue around and creepily smiles, like, ah.
Ew.
But I think that was literally in The Exorcist.
In The
and I feel
Exorcist. Yeah,
if an exorcism is about to be performed on you for research, for R&D, maybe you watch that movie, you know?
Well, and you're going on fucking ABC and all your friends are going to see it. Like, you want it to look real, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she's playing along or if she's really... If she's actively psychotic, there's no saying what, you know...
Yeah,
It's not,
I don't know.
But wow.
Well, so Father A then commands the demons to leave, which, like, if it's that easy, why?
Why
Okay.
didn't you do that? Okay. Whatever.
After 6 hours of commanding the demons to leave, apparently the exorcism is over. Which, how do you know that the exorcism is over? Like, couldn't they be tricking you into thinking they're gone?
No,
Like,
there's all sorts of ways. They test it on evil.
okay, I'll
You
watch
prick
Evil
'em with a
Jesus.
little sharp thing, or you do all
Oh,
sorts
right.
of stuff to see if
Right.
they're really there or if they're still like hiding in there, you know?
Well, Gina seems to be fine now. She hugs her mom, is obeying the priest when he like tells her to do certain things. She seems totally fine. But that night, apparently, Gina claimed to hear voices again in her bedroom. So Father A goes over to the
Oh,
house and did an
no.
exorcism on the house, which I wonder why that wasn't approved. Maybe it was like part of this current exorcism, so it
Well, I bet
counted.
the exorcism in the church was a better setting for a televised, like, it feels like the vibe
Mm,
is just like, oh, let's do it inside a Catholic church. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
Well, so after a few days,
The house of God.
post her exorcism and post going over and doing some sort of blessing or exorcism on the house,
Right.
a few days after that, ABC reports that Felicia, Gina's mom, had to bring Gina back to the hospital, the psychiatric hospital, because things hadn't gotten better. So what do you know? The exorcism didn't work.
Mm.
And she had to stay there for 2 weeks.
I mean, it
Her
probably aggravated it. Like, I don't know that for a fact. I'm no doctor, but like, if this is nothing spiritual at all, like this is just harmful then.
yeah, I mean,
And putting it on display for the world, like, yikes.
yeah, imagine even having people knocking on your door to interview you about the exorcism. Like, I mean,
Ugh, yeah.
even just the world now of having televised something like that, like now you
And
put
being
yourself,
recognizable. Yeah.
like, you gotta be beyond stable to keep up with that shit. And like she's
Yeah.
already going through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So her doctor reported after these 2 weeks that she had to stay. The doctor said that Gina would, quote, distort reality, but not to the degree that she had previously. And this was because they put her on meds and did a lot of therapy with her, which seemed to help. They put her on an antipsychotic medication, and
Okay.
she was continuing that medication after she left the hospital too. So ABC interviewed her psychiatrist, which was the same one before and after her exorcism. She kept going to the same guy. And the psychiatrist said he's never thought somebody could be possessed, and he doubts anyone can be possessed. So he thought this whole exorcism thing was
Oh.
like not worth anyone's time.
Hey, I wonder whose opinion I'm going to believe.
Well, so meanwhile, Father Labar was asked the difference between psychosis and being possessed, and how we can tell that Gina is possessed.
And he's the expert. So let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah. And this is a quote because I still am trying to unpack it. It feels like AI wrote it. I'd have to ask whether the psychiatrist believes possession is possible first. And just because it's psychotic doesn't mean we should exclude the presence of demons, because I always ask them being psychiatrists, all right, you've explained it this far, but now what? What's after that? It's still happening, and they can't answer it.
What do you mean? That's like saying, now what cancer? You don't know what it is. No, I do. It doesn't mean we can stop it or figure out like what the fuck or know how it
It's
works.
like, well, now you
exactly.
know what the mental health is, but since you haven't
That doesn't make
fixed
any
it,
fucking sense. That's really
and I like
absurd.
he's like, well, before I could, first of all, he didn't describe the difference between possession or psychosis. He
No.
just said like, well, does the psychiatrist believe in possession? Because if no, then it's gonna be like, is that your definition? Is like
And
whether or
first
not
of
the
all-
doctor believes in?
First of all, it's like
has
what
faith?
psychiatrist? We're not asking. We're asking you. Why are you talking? Like,
Yeah.
well, it's not about. This is just
Anyway.
straw man argument.
He thought it was a neat little gotcha. But so the interviewer then says, well, since Gina is doing better after medication and therapy, do you think the exorcism was a success or a failure?
Yeah,
I love this
I
interviewer.
love that they said with medication and like not she's doing better, but like
Yeah.
she's doing better with all her medication and therapy.
It's like, oh, well, she still had to go back for the same symptoms to a hospital.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Like days later.
And Labar said this: the drugs treat the natural part of her issues, but
For God's sake.
what I believe, and she has said consistently, is that the voices don't bother me anymore, and that's whether or not she's had any drugs. So he thinks that the medication is just an additive to the fact that he fixed her.
Yeah, I mean, I figured he would say that, so I guess I'm not surprised.
Yeah, my jaw remains in place. So Meanwhile, the interviewer then asked Gina's therapist, "Do you think the exorcism contributed to her now well-being?" And the doctor just went, "I doubt it."
See, it's called a concise answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to go on some rant about what the psychiatrist might believe and blah, blah, blah. Like,
So not only that, but the psychiatrist said something that you just alluded to, where he said the exorcism probably actually made things worse for Gina. And this is a quote from him: "If her delusion is that she's possessed, then the exorcism might have confirmed the
Yes.
delusion." So now,
Good
on top of
point.
her active psychosis, she now also thinks she is possessed.
you're basically like creating this reality where she's possessed, and that's why this is it's like dangerous. I mean, it's really dangerous.
And also, if she is ever having a moment where she believes that she's possessed, and like even an exorcism didn't fix her, then like what's she gonna do
Yeah.
now? You know.
Was she like beyond help, or like what are you trying to say about her? You know, that's so scary.
So 2 months later, they re-interview Gina, who is still on
Ooh.
medication, and she says, poor girl, I feel much better thanks to God for liberating me from evil. I feel much
Oh, boy.
better.
Okay. Well,
One thing I appreciate that ABC did is that they asked someone who was both a reverend and a psychiatrist.
okay, because I was like, this feels very polarizing.
Yeah, and he basically said that people are just it's all about perception and what you believe in, that you're just gonna twist it into whatever your own background is. So
Right.
he was not much help, but I appreciate that ABC tried to talk to somebody with both backgrounds.
Yeah.
There was a lot of differing opinions, I will say, even in the church about filming and broadcasting an exorcism.
Oh, really?
Some thought that it brought attention to those who are possessed, to let them know that the church can help them and the power of prayer. But other people thought that, especially like super religious people, they were like, this is turning Catholicism rites into a sideshow, and it violates the whole idea that this is like a private ceremony.
Like sanctified in some way.
Yeah, so others worried that Gina and her mother actually felt pressured to do the broadcast, / could Gina even give informed consent? I don't think she could.
Mm-mm.
But people think like maybe they felt pressured to do this because like how often is the church doing exorcisms right when ABC wanted to do something like a segment piece
Oh,
on
yeah.
this.
And you convince, someone convinces the mother or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, the kid has to go along with it.
Yeah, and also think
It's-
about like maybe they were getting paid in some way to contribute.
Yeah,
Maybe
who
they had some
knows?
money issues. Maybe the church was pressuring them of like,
Well, and
if
it's like
you
the
do
mom was
this, you could.
desperate.
Yeah, the mom was
She really
desperate.
wanted help.
Also, I saw from a few sources that she was an immigrant. I don't know if that means that she was like, I don't know. I don't know if
Like if English was her second language or not.
that, and people the sources I was reading were implying that maybe they were threatening that like she needed to do this, or they would like give her issues about sticking around.
Oh,
It sounded like there was like some extra conspiracy on top of that,
jeez.
but
Okay.
I don't really know all about that. So, but I would imagine even like the church saying, if you don't do this, then you're doing a disservice to God and people who might need help. And so then they feel pressured that way. Or,
Right. Or like, we won't participate unless you agree to the
Yeah.
ABC thing. And then it's like, well, shit.
yeah, exactly. So we don't know how into doing this they even were. Entertainment Weekly came out with something to say because this is a televised experience. And even Entertainment Weekly was like, are we cool with a whole fucking exorcism just being broadcast on TV?
That's good. If they asked. I guess.
And so Entertainment Weekly put out a quote saying, with technology advancing at a rapid rate, how far will reality TV go? With-
That's funny.
With the thirst for
If only
sensation,
you knew.
with the thirst for sensational invasions, taking us further than 2020 exorcism rituals, how about live electroshock therapy treatments? How about on-camera abortions? A video
Oof.
verite crime of the week. The experts disagree on the future of explicit TV.
Wow. That is.
Additionally, and shockingly, some church members actually thought that the broadcast harmed mental health, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of them thought that this actually trivialized actual mental health problems because
Right.
you're putting exorcism before a doctor's
Yeah, I mean, to
opinion.
say like, oh, she's hearing voices, it must be the devil. It feels just so medieval, like Middle Ages,
Yeah, a lot of them believe that by showing an exorcism to the masses, it promoted archaic solutions to current problems, and people might lean into archaic solutions instead of getting actual help first.
Yeah.
And they feared that it could be misleading to people who have true mental health issues that should seek help. So,
Yeah.
even other reverends were calling televising an exorcism indefensible.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty shady.
this guy, his name was Father McBrien. He was very against the idea of broadcasting this. He later appeared on ABC's Nightline program, which I looked everywhere for. No one has uploaded their VHS recording of it.
No.
But he seems to be so against this. And there was another former exorcist that chimed in also. And he said, this is a quote, "Over time, these people that we treated revert back. You're simply dealing with mental problems and they need professional help. The church should not be doing this kind of thing. I've witnessed people who have died because of it." And that's a former fucking exorcist saying exorcisms don't work.
That's the voice I pay attention to. Somebody who was in it and is out of it now. Wow.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll say the last thing I'll say is, fun fact, soon after this exorcism, Father Labar, who participated in this, he became the chief exorcist of the New York Archdiocese. So a lot of people think that maybe he did this just to further his own agenda.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. Also, the other thing that you see in evil is the politics of the Catholic Church. And, it's just a very traditional and powerful hierarchy. So not totally surprised by that.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a long one, but I wanted to do a play-by-play because how often you get to just watch a video with everybody.
I cannot believe it. I'm going to watch that just for the commercial. I watch it for the commercials,
Well, that was The Possession of Gina.
I mean, indeed it was. And I'm glad that you didn't give me a last name because it means at least they didn't give her name.
Yes.
I wonder if that was her real name or if that was a fake name.
I don't think it was her real name. I think it was a fake name.
That makes me feel better. I love that it all started with that guy going, "Yeah, well, I did too just this week in New York."
And ABC went, "Write that down, write that
down. That's the guy we got to call. Okay, I have huge breaking news that I'm part of the problem because in 2024, it was reported that more people now use THC than drink on the daily.
I was just home at my mom's house and every pantry seemed to have some sort of THC situation.
No way!
She
wow.
is a big fan of THC honey, all sorts of stuff. So she is on the wagon with you.
I love that. We're both driving the wagon, but not under the influence. Anyway, if you're wondering what on earth we're talking about, of course we're talking about Cornbread's organic THC gummies. Cornbread, you say? Yes, it's the best name ever. So as we head into the new year and dry, or for me it was dry-ish January, just a little less pressure, Cornbread is an amazing guilt-free alternative to alcohol. And it's really funny. They've got to know how that sounds. Cornbread is an amazing guilt-free alternative to alcohol.
Just more and more reasons. Plus, it is 100% legal hemp and fast and free shipping with real THC and no synthetics. So
yes,
alcohol doesn't have to be the default anymore. Whether you're doing dry January or just looking for a healthier way to relax and have a guilt-free good time, you got to try Cornbread's THC gummies right now. And that's why We Drink listeners can save 30% off their first order.
Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/drink and use code DRINK at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/drink, code DRINK. Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life. It is indeed. Okay. Well, I have a story for you today as well, and it's a sad one. It's one that I've wanted to do for years now. I'm excited to tell you the story, but it's pretty heartbreaking. This is the story of Brianna Maitland.
Okay.
So we go back to 2004, which somehow is 21 years ago now, which also means my sister turns 21 this year. Wow.
Wow. Are you going to be her first drinking buddy?
Yeah, we're going to Margaritaville, the new Margaritaville. Yeah, I'm really amped.
You know I love Margaritaville. That's so where you and I are going too, right?
We better. I'm very excited because we said it as a joke when they first announced they were opening one, but now it's become such a plan in the family that I'm like, it's too late. We've unironically decided to go now. So I'm excited for that to finally open up. I hope on time. If not, then her 22nd birthday will be a riot.
It sure will, yeah.
Okay, so Brianna Maitland, 2004, March 20th, a state police officer in northern Vermont responded to a possible car accident. Someone, it seems, had crashed their vehicle into a house on the side of a country road.
Hmm.
So the officer arrived on scene and he saw exactly what had been described. There was a green Oldsmobile, but when they said driven into the house or crashed into the house, he didn't realize till he got there that the car was backwards. So it was almost like the back end of it had crashed through the siding of
Oh,
the
shit.
farmhouse. And it had gone into, I mean, it had, what did you call it?
Oh, it broke into Wallace.
It broke through Wallace or broke into Wallace. And it broke through the wall and there was minimal damage to the vehicle. There was also nobody in the car. The house was abandoned, so there was nobody there. And behind the
Hmm.
house was this large field and just some woods. So there's this empty car backed into a farmhouse, empty farmhouse, empty field.
Interesting.
A plywood board had been nailed over a window on the side of the house, and that had collapsed outward onto the vehicle, and nobody had
Hmm.
like brushed it off or anything. So whoever had gotten the car there had left the scene with barely, without barely touching anything. There were no neighbors around because it's a pretty isolated area, so no witnesses as to what happened. And the drivers who noticed the accident on their way didn't have any clue either. They had just seen the car there and called it in.
Okay.
So, of course, the officer's first instinct is okay, well, probably somebody abandoned their vehicle after drunk driving and didn't want to get in trouble for crashing the car and left it there. And that's like reasonable enough, out in the on a country road. You can see why that would be their first inkling. Someone may have picked this person up, like maybe they walked away from the car and walked home. But
Or what
according
year
to
is this? Because they could have just called their friend and been like, "Here, come get me."
it was '04. So yeah, it's
Oh,
possible that they
okay.
just like called a friend or just walked back to their property or who knows what. Maybe someone else was with them. But either way, he wasn't too worried. He reported the license plate number. He looked inside the car and he found some personal belongings in the car that were able to help him identify the owner.
Okay.
Among these personal belongings were several uncashed paychecks from the Black Lantern Inn. This is a local hotel and restaurant in Montgomery, Vermont, and the checks were made out to Brianna Maitland. Now, the officer drove to the inn to ask about Brianna and the vehicle, but the restaurant was closed, and another report was called in, and he just moved on and had the Oldsmobile towed to a nearby auto shop and hoped that the owner would just come by and claim it. And he never followed up with that car. He
Okay.
just got busy and was like, I'm moving on, and kind of forgot about it. And,
Well, it seemed
unfortunately,
innocuous enough,
it seemed innocuous, and he just thought, well, I'm not gonna, go reporting this. He should have followed up with the family and made sure, like, they knew the car was there, but, whatever. So 5 days later, on Thursday, March 25th, a married couple arrived at the state police department looking for answers about their daughter, who was reported as missing just days earlier. So the officer asked them to describe their daughter's vehicle, which was also missing. And the couple said, well, the vehicle that she drove was a green Oldsmobile. And the police officer was like, oh, right, a green Oldsmobile. I think we saw one of those recently.
Mm-hmm.
The couple that had come in were Kelly and Bruce Maitland. They were the parents of Brianna Maitland, and her name was the one on the checks found in the vehicle. So this is
Right.
obviously her car. And when Kelly, her mom, saw a picture of the abandoned vehicle, she said in an episode of Disappeared that she wanted to vomit. She's like, I saw the
Yeah.
car abandoned, parked, backed into a farmhouse, and she was like, I knew
Yeah.
something terrible had happened.
And also, I would be I understand like what you mean about like the guy being like, all right, I put in the information and I just kind of went on my day. It was an innocuous, like seemed like it was a
Drunk driver, yeah,
cut and
cut and dry.
cut and dry case. But I can't imagine the anger searing through me on the other side of like, how did you not fucking
5 days
follow
ago,
this lead?
that was before she'd only been missing for a few days, and it's like 5 days ago they found this car and just had it towed. Nobody like took pictures. The police,
No one like looked at the license, like looked up the license plate.
they did. They like noted it, but then they
Oh.
just had the car towed and like didn't follow up with the family, didn't check to see if Brianna was okay. Like he went to the restaurant, it was closed, he just left. And I know that happens, and I know in probably 99% of the time that gut instinct is like, yep, you were right, some drunk, but then the 1% when you don't follow up and it turns into this is just like so not worth that risk, I think. So Kelly sees this picture. She is like, the wind is knocked out of her. She feels like she's going to vomit. For days now, she had hoped that Brianna had driven herself to a friend's house or to see a boyfriend. Like, when Brianna and her car were missing, it was a lot less scary to her mom than when her car was found and Brianna was missing.
Right, because it could have been like they took a road trip and never called us or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Yes. Like maybe she just went to a friend's house and is mad at me and she'll come back, But now it was clear that something was very, very wrong. And so the officers obviously knew that they had completely mistook this car for an abandoned vehicle. So they began backtracking through the previous week to put together a timeline that basically followed Brianna and her Oldsmobile. So Friday, March 19th, that had been a good day for Brianna. Her mom had taken her out to breakfast that morning because she was taking her high school equivalency exam, so sort of a GED. And once completed, she would get her high school diploma, and she had been really pushing to become a high school graduate. So this was a huge deal for her. And so this was a very big day. That was March 19th, Friday.
Okay.
So Brianna had grown up on a rural farm with her parents in Vermont. She was fiercely independent. She was that kind of teenager who always dreamed of moving away. She wanted to either go to Toronto or New York City. And she often felt very lonely and just felt out of place in her kind of rural town, her small town. One friend said in an interview that Brianna often worried about everything from how she was perceived, her grades, her looks, her reputation. And she always felt like she wasn't doing it right. Like she was just not fitting in the way that she wanted to.
Been there.
Yeah. And so it was difficult for Kelly to understand why other kids wouldn't like her daughter. She considered her daughter very, very kind, but she said maybe people thought she was just naive. She was always like smiling, always looking for the best in people. Apparently one time Kelly came home from work to find a teenage boy in their kitchen.
Oh,
And she
okay.
was like, "Who's this?" And Brianna was like, "Oh, well, there's this teenage boy. He was hitchhiking, and I couldn't just leave him on the side of the
Oh,
road."
girl.
And so her mom was like, she would just like help anybody without thinking, and like she may have just gotten into trouble because she was vulnerable in that way. That she
That
was
feels
like
like such an easy explanation
too
of this, too.
open-hearted. Yeah, exactly. And so Kelly said Brianna thought everyone was good at some point, at some level, and there was good inside everyone, and that everyone had problems, and, some maybe just needed more help finding that niceness than others, and she was the person who wanted to give them that kindness. And, her friends called her loud and goofy, a partier, just like,
Lit up a room.
lit up a room. And she definitely loved attention. She was the kind of gal who, when she drank, got a little bit loud and excitable and fun, and like she wanted to be the life of the party. She also liked attention from boys, and that just was something she found affirming. She was always seeking to fit in.
She could have just fallen into the lap of like a Ted Bundy of like, can you help me do this? And
Yeah, easy. There's
he's
so
a
many
guy
things
giving
that
you
could have
attention,
happened.
and you could be helpful. And
Exactly.
yeah.
She was also, and I felt uncomfortable by the amount that they mentioned this on the show, but she was beautiful. Like, she's really gorgeous.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so it's like, she, for the time especially, it's so funny, like, you can see, like, the very plucked eyebrows. Like, you can just tell, like, she's beautiful. And, not that should be relevant in any context other than that could have made her additionally a target, right?
Right.
And so whether it's somebody she knew or didn't know. But so, she was a pretty average teenage girl. She just wanted to like make friends, do well in school, fit in. And
Apparently, one night, Brianna went to a party where another girl was reportedly jealous of the way Brianna had spoken to her boyfriend.
Oh.
And
Uh-oh.
classic high school stuff, right? So either way, Brianna was like, I'm leaving. She went outside to avoid an argument. She sat in her boyfriend's truck, but the girl followed her outside, drunk and pissed off.
Uh-oh.
And when Brianna rolled down the window to talk to her, this girl grabbed Brianna and punched her repeatedly in the face. And it is bad. She concussed Brianna,
Oh my God.
broke her nose. She had to be hospitalized. If you see the photo, she has like black eyes. I mean, she was beaten up by this girl.
Oh, Jesus.
At the time, her parents were like, why didn't you fight back? Because Brianna was actually trained in martial arts. She was very, very good at self-defense. And she told them when they asked her why you didn't fight back, she said she was afraid if she fought back, people would be mad at her and wouldn't like her anymore.
Oh, the people pleaser effect. I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
That poor girl.
So by the time Brianna was 17, her loneliness felt unbearable, and she decided to move off of her parents' farm to a friend's house so she could go to a different high school, which was her friend's high school.
Okay.
Her parents were not thrilled about this, but they were like, okay, she's so unhappy, and she's
Give her
very
what she
strong.
wants.
Yeah, she's very strong-willed. Like, if we fight this, it's just going to go bad. So they hoped, like, okay, maybe this will help her get back on her feet. But unfortunately, it did not. Life got pretty unstable. She dropped out of high school. She started bouncing around between different friends' houses. Sometimes she would stay with a boyfriend if she was dating someone. And things kind of remained difficult until February of 2004. And that's when she moved in with her childhood friend, Jillian Stout. And that's when she enrolled in that high school equivalency program, so that GED program, to earn her diploma, because that was a really important thing for her.
Sure.
She got 2 jobs. One was at the Black Lantern Inn as a dishwasher, and one was at a restaurant. And things stabilized slowly but surely for Brianna. She worked really hard to try to get the life she wanted. And friends said she dreamed, like I said, of moving to New York City, maybe Toronto, maybe Montreal. She just wanted something bigger and better. And
An adventure.
An adventure, yes. And she wanted to just like break out of her small town, So when she took her final high school equivalency exam that same day that her mom took her out for breakfast, March 19th, it was basically this like new start. She had like the whole world at her fingertips. Her mom picked her up at noon. They went shopping to celebrate. Her mom said she loved shopping because everything looked good on her. I was like, yeah, well,
You go, girl.
that must be nice.
I've never had that. Feels like maybe an original experience.
Yeah, that sounds delightful, really.
Good for you, though.
Yeah. So while they were in line to check out, Brianna looked out the window of the store and said, "Oh no, okay, I'll be right back, Mom," and left.
Oh.
So Kelly was like, all right, and Brianna left, but when she didn't return, Kelly left the store and met Brianna in the parking lot, and it was like Brianna's entire mood had shifted. Like she had gotten some shocking news, or like her mom just didn't know. She seemed shaken. She seemed anxious. She said she just wanted to get home now and get ready for work. So her mom was like, ooh, okay. And, a lot of people were pissed off that her mom didn't ask, like didn't pry, like what happened, what's wrong.
In hindsight, I could see why.
Yeah. And I do find it a little odd you wouldn't say like, hey, what's the matter? But I mean, maybe she did. And maybe her daughter was like, nothing, And it's like, what do you say to a 19-year-old? You can't like force them to talk to you.
And it sounds like she's a mom who's like trying to like
give her
space, her
freedom
autonomy.
And space. Yeah.
It's like, all right, that's you. If you're fine, then you're fine, I guess.
And she's clearly making good choices. She's like coming back into her own, I don't think it's necessarily as sinister as everyone like just screams at this mother. It's like, well, okay, she was trying not to pry, and
she's trying to be a fucking nice mom.
Be respectful, and her daughter's an adult, so it's like her daughter doesn't have to tell her anything.
And also, like, to this day, if my mom saw me upset and then what's wrong, I'd be like, nothing. Like, I'd be like,
right.
I'd be like, none of your business. Like, I would find,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't tell her if it like didn't matter, if I didn't want to like open up a can of worms.
I feel like what I would say is like, hey, are you okay? And they'd be like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well then that's that. There's no more questions,
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel I have a hard time blaming anyone, especially like you said with hindsight. Anyway, so she didn't want to pry, so she kind of just let her be and dropped her off at home at 3:30. Brianna wrote a note to her roommate, Jillian, that was the childhood friend, saying she'd be home late after her shift tonight at the Black Lantern Inn. and she went to work. It was a busy night, and by the time the kitchen was clean and everyone clocked out just before 11:30, Brianna was absolutely exhausted. Her coworkers were hanging out, but she said, I have to go to my other job early in the morning, so I'm going to go home, and I'm not going to hang out. I'm going to go to bed. So they watched her walk through the parking lot, get in her car, and drive away alone. So that was Friday night that she had done that shift. She had a shift early the next morning, Saturday morning, so she went home to go to bed. So they watched her leave. Now, Sunday rolls around, and Jillian, she had actually been out for the weekend. She was visiting friends or family out of town. So she comes back on Sunday, and she notices that note that had been left on Friday was still there, and it hadn't been moved or touched. And she thought that was a little odd. And Brianna wasn't in the house, but Jillian said, okay, well, maybe she just stayed with her parents over the weekend. So she wasn't really worried until Tuesday, March 23rd, when Brianna still was not home. And keep in mind, the car was found on the 20th. This is 3 days that they could have contacted the family and said, we found the car.
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah, I'm pissed for them.
Me too. So Jillian calls Kelly and she asks if Brianna's there at the farm, and Kelly says no, she should be with you at home. And so they hang up, and Kelly starts calling around, just calling Brianna's friends, boyfriends. Nobody has seen her in a couple days. So Kelly speaks to Brianna's employers, and basically everyone figured out that no one had seen Brianna since Friday night after her shift.
Oh,
so
shit.
all day Saturday where she was supposed to have that shift and all that other stuff, her roommate was out of town. Nobody knew she was missing, but she hadn't been seen since Friday night.
Wow. And sorry, remind me, how many days before was they go to the store and she goes, oh shit, and she...
So that was on Friday. That was the same day. That was the morning.
Okay.
That was basically the last day she'd ever been seen.
Oh God, that's heartbreaking. Okay.
Yeah. And so her mom dropped her off, and basically that was her mom's last experience with her.
Ugh.
Basically regretting not asking more questions about why she was upset after
The
that
way
shopping.
that, I
know.
mean, no one can fault, nobody
That's
can
why-
fault this mom
and-
the way that she faults herself.
Exactly. Because people go, I mean, ballistic. Like, people are like to the point of violence,
Like,
cruel to this woman. It's
what
like,
the fuck?
she
Like,
didn't kill
trust
her
me,
daughter.
she's-
Jesus. Like,
she has played that thought over and over in her head
Exactly.
without you having to fucking tell her.
exactly. Like you said, no one's going to be as mean to her as she probably is to herself about that, or probably has the capacity to. Hopefully she doesn't. Hopefully she's healed and, not doing that. But it's just like, give it a rest, people. Like, as if you would do everything right, not knowing that
Yeah.
disaster was about to strike. So anyway, Kelly spoke to Brianna's employer. She basically realized nobody'd seen her since Friday. And by now, that was 5 days ago. So 5 days have passed before anyone even realized. And it could have been one night. Like, they could have touched base. But it's, again, hindsight. So Kelly, her mom, called her husband, Bruce, and he was in New York on business, but he just jumped in his car. He drove overnight straight home, and her mom reported Brianna missing to the police. They notified all local officers because Brianna is 17. She's a minor, and so all local officers are notified. So Kelly tried to think of where Brianna might go if she left without telling anyone, and one of the people she thought about was her Aunt Tammy. Brianna was very close with her Aunt Tammy Fisher in Pittsburgh. So she called Tammy, and when Tammy didn't pick up, Kelly left a message to call right away if Brianna showed up at her door. So Tammy gets home and basically gets a voicemail like, if you see Brianna at your door,
Call me immediately.
bring her inside and call me immediately. And Tammy's like, what the hell is going on,
Yeah.
So Brianna's friend Shauna didn't believe Brianna would leave without telling anyone, and she said in an interview, she had a big heart. She would never do that to anybody. Like, she would never, in that regard, like, leave town and just not tell her mom and leave her mom to be terrified. You know what I mean? So the next thing Kelly and Bruce did was trace Brianna's steps back. So they thought of the last place Brianna had been seen, and they went to the Black Lantern Inn to kind of look around. And this was extremely painful because just like another one of those weird hindsight is 2020 moments. The night, that Friday, that Brianna was at work, her dad suggested to her mom, hey, why don't we just stop inside and say hi and see how her job is
Oh.
going? And her mom said, oh, gosh, I don't want to embarrass her. She's going to be so mad if we, like, march in there and, like, oh, now
Another
that...
thing that she kicks herself for.
Yes, and now that her boss is going to be like, oh, now her parents are involved, because she's 17 and like she wants to
Right.
be independent. And so her mom was like, I don't know, I don't want to like push it. So they kept their hands off. And of course, after that,
Of
all
course.
they wish is that they had just overridden that concern and gone
And
in, but
seen
you
her
wouldn't
one more
know,
time. Yeah, you would
right?
have no clue.
And
There's
like if nothing had happened and you did go in, maybe she would have been pissed off and you would have started a fight and
yeah.
who knows? Like it's hard to say that was it's just an unfortunate thing.
It's just all the
it's
what ifs.
unfortunate. It's a what if, yes. And so they kept driving, and of course now they wish they'd stopped. So they went to the state police on March 25th, and that was 6 days since Brianna had last been seen, and that's when they found out that 5 days ago Brianna's car had been discovered in a field, and
Mm.
their hearts just sank. So, despite this notice going out about Brianna being a missing minor and the state police reporting the vehicle as belonging to Brianna, law enforcement just hadn't even made that connection yet. It wasn't until they asked what kind of car she drove that police were like, "Oh wait,
Hang on. Why does that ring a bell?
why are two people named Brianna Maitland?"
Ugh.
So Brianna's brother was able to locate the car where it had gotten towed, which was an auto shop. And her dad, Bruce, used a crowbar to pry open the trunk. Now imagine
shit.
in this moment they were worried she could be in there.
She could be in there. Yeah,
Yes,
I can't
they-
imagine being a dad thinking, "Dude, I don't even want to fucking open this." But
Right,
I
and it's
have
like
to.
your son offers, and it's like, well, no, I don't want her brother to do it. I mean, somebody has to do it. That's just awful. So, of course, he pries it open. There must be like relief and concern when you open it, and she's not in there. They only found some boxes of her childhood keepsakes, along with some important belongings that Brianna was storing for a friend. So they get the car back, and a search effort is launched. Volunteers are called, local businesses put up flyers. Meanwhile, Tammy's in Pittsburgh, and she's just gotten this voicemail, but she has no clue what's going on.
And no one's answering their phone unless it's like the police right now.
That's exactly what happened. She said, I keep calling, the line just keeps ringing, like no one's picking up. I am getting more and more concerned. She says she turns on the TV and Brianna's face is on the local news. And she goes, holy shit. So I just got chills. She gets in her car and she just drives to Vermont without thinking or stopping. And so everyone's now on the ground. They are looking, but weeks pass. There are no leads. There's a foundation from 1994 called the Class Kids Foundation, and Polly Klaas was the reason that this organization had begun. So volunteers from Klaas Kids were there. They organized a volunteer search effort to scour an entire 5-mile radius surrounding the abandoned house where her car was found, but canines didn't find anything. Search teams didn't find anything, but the publicity did help. It turns out multiple people saw Brianna's car at the abandoned house the night she disappeared. Not only that, some people had taken pictures because they just thought it was such a strange thing to stumble upon.
Sure.
So, as for the sightings themselves, I'll start with this one guy who drove by it between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. And remember, she left work around 11:30. So,
Okay, so that'd be
within
prime
an
time.
hour of her leaving, this guy spotted it.
Wow.
He noted that the headlights were on, which is why it was like strange, but he didn't see
Eerie as shit, probably.
right with the back of it inside a barn, an abandoned barn. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I will say, as a teenager, I think that would have been like, oh, our time to go explore.
Let's figure out what's going on. Absolutely.
And in 2004, MySpace era, of course, you're gonna take pictures of everything because you think it's like a cool, quirky,
you have your cool
artsy.
pics.
It like wouldn't even occur to me like this is a fucking tragedy. Like
A crime scene potentially. Yeah.
I would literally have just been like, oh my god, let's go adventure. Like I'd be
100%.
such a piece of shit. But
I mean, it's children. We were kids. We didn't know. But I mean, yes, it was ignorant. But yes, I agree. I would have been like, this is so cool.
I mean, like, wow, let's take a picture in front of this for an artsy pic.
Wait till my crush sees this.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like the police need your photographs immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't end up being any teens, so there's that. But this guy saw it. So they have this guy placing it there between 10 and 60 minutes after Brianna left work. And the headlights are on. And he did not see anyone in or around the vehicle. Then we have another person between midnight and 12:30. A driver noticed the vehicle and reported that one of the turn signals was blinking.
Oh, so do we know if it was blinking?
No, I think it was just
Okay.
one person drove by, said, "Oh, it looks like the lights are on." Somebody else maybe slowed down and said, "Oh, I see a turn signal." Maybe they just
Gotcha.
didn't
Okay.
see it. Um, and same thing, nobody around. He said it could have been one turn signal or maybe even the hazards. He wasn't sure. At 4 a.m., Brianna's ex-boyfriend was driving by on his way home from a party and was like, "Is that my ex-girlfriend's car?" So he pulled
Hmm.
over and he looked around but didn't see anything. So he left, thinking like, okay, she must have just gotten wasted or something and left the car here. So later that morning, two more people passed by the scene, and these people took photos because it was just such a strange sight, and it was
Thank God
morning.
someone did. But
I
also,
agree.
I will say in 2004, like if you didn't have a literal camera with you, I don't think you
Yeah.
could take pictures. So
Or
it's
just like
not.
one of those really grainy old like mobile phones, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you'd need like an actual digital camera or something.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the photographs actually caught stuff that they didn't know because it had been 5 days previously. No one had taken photos when the car was found.
Yeah.
So when you looked at one of these photographs, you could see stuff on the ground that had fallen out of the car.
Oh shit.
Yes. And so now they're seeing loose change, a water bottle, and jewelry on the side of the car on the ground. And so it sort of indicates somebody climbed out of the car or there was some
Right.
frenzy. Something happened where things got dropped and nobody picked them back up.
And it indicates that someone came by, saw the car, and took those items, or maybe
That
animals. I
That
don't
could
know.
be. That could be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I assume so. You're right, because I imagine they would have by then gone to the farmhouse and seen her jewelry if it was still there, or,
I mean,
or
it
whatever it
feels
was.
like, which that's eerier that someone saw there was this fucking crisis and stole all the stuff and then didn't report what they'd seen.
Well, I mean, if it's just an abandoned car
That's
and
true.
there's just like a necklace on the ground, I think my brain wouldn't be like, oh, I'm calling them, especially if it's just like a 17-year-old girl's necklace, like nothing fancy or
Hmm.
just like a bracelet, I don't know. I don't think it would even occur to me that I would have to.
Or
Nowadays, probably, but
or it
maybe
could just
not
be a
then.
crow who likes shiny things and just took coins.
Or it's a raven and he brought him to a friend. Exactly. It could be. Could be. So, based on these witness report timelines, Brianna's car was abandoned less than an hour after she left work. So, investigators started looking at people in Brianna's life. The incident where she had gotten beaten up by that girl at the party was only
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks earlier. So, that was still like pretty fresh on everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm.
After the attack, her friend Shauna actually convinced Brianna to report it to the police, but Brianna was really worried it would make things worse. But she
Right.
did go to the police, and her assailant, whose name was Keely Lacrosse, was subpoenaed for questioning about the assault. And when Shauna apparently asked Keely about the assault charges after Brianna went missing, Keely apparently said smugly, "Well, nothing's going to be happening because Bree's not around right now."
Oh,
Which I feel like they thought was so sinister, but I'm like, it's also another teenage girl who probably
exactly.
just thinks you're running away or like,
That really is the theme of today's
I
episode. It's
know,
like,
you're so right.
it's like, they were 16. Like that's
It's
kind
like,
of what's
can we
going on
not
here.
put a little perspective on this, Like,
Yeah. It's like, did everyone just magically forget what it was like to be a
I
teenager?
guess
Like,
so, because it just feels like people aren't connecting the dots in some ways.
because honestly, if a teenager, here's my thought: if I were a cop today, and a teenager said something like where they were trying to look tough, I know they didn't do it.
Yeah, it's sort of like you wouldn't say it if you killed her. Well, I mean, maybe you would because
I
you're a
don't know, maybe
stupid
you would.
teenager. I don't know, but you're right. Like, I just feel like everything's with a grain of salt, especially if you're talking to teenage frenemies, right? Like,
Right.
she talked to my
mean,
boyfriend, blah blah
also
blah.
like how in maybe I have forgotten a little about what it's like to be a teenager, but I guess how intensely was Brianna flirting with your guy for you to first of all ever beat the shit out of her that badly once, but then to like have a 3 week like beef afterwards, you know?
Well, she pressed charges, so suddenly there's
Oh,
a
right.
trial, and so it's like, wow, well,
You're
I
right.
mean, she beat the shit out of her, so it's like, yeah, now there's this trial, and now she's being subpoenaed, and
You're right.
when
Okay, I see.
Brianna
now,
goes missing, it's like, well, now you don't have to. Now the charges are going to be dropped, so it is convenient, right?
Yeah.
But Keely, of course, because, well, not of course, I suppose, but I'll tell you now that she was ruled out as a suspect in Brianna's disappearance. And Brianna's family was, as we've probably already kind of hinted at,
They were frustrated with the investigation.
Oh, yeah.
One leading investigator in 2004 said, "We have continued to be skeptical that this could be a case involving foul play."
Mhm.
In other words, they literally think she still just ran away with uncashed paychecks in her car, left the lights on, didn't bring the car with her.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't agree.
She also left her migraine medication, which she brought everywhere. And other things like the uncashed paychecks. Why on earth would a teenager leave money just sitting in their car? Why would they leave their car? It just
Yeah.
none of it makes sense.
No.
All her important personal belongings in the trunk, her friend's stuff. I mean, it's just too weird. So Bruce, her dad, took matters into his own hands at this point. He went to the Black Lantern Inn and questioned Brianna's coworkers himself, trying to understand what might have happened the night she vanished. And they told him Brianna seemed pretty normal. She was in a good mood. Nothing appeared off to them. The Maitlands put their phone number out there for calls, and they received tips from all over the country. Of course, a lot of them were useless, and like happens every time, some of them were just cruel. People told Kelly Brianna was tied up to a tree in the woods. People said she'd
Oh
been
my
thrown into
God.
a river, dismembered and fed to pigs. People are just sick. Like, they will just take any chance to
Oh
just
my God.
fuck with someone. It's horrible.
It's evil.
It's
True
evil. A police officer gave a sworn statement that a local woman told him Brianna was murdered and dismembered by men Brianna knew, who were both known drug dealers in the area. But it
Mhm.
was just one woman's story. And even though the officer swore it was just rumors, it's only speculation. There's no evidence, no actual proof of where she could be or of these two men's involvement.
Hmm.
So there were rumors flying, of course, that she had some like troubled life, this double life, some secrets. She did sometimes go to parties where people use substances like cocaine, marijuana. She had tried a few drugs, but very casually. She said her friends said no, she was not an active drug user. Like maybe every now and then she would smoke pot with friends, or she had tried crack cocaine at one point, but only once, and then hadn't done it again. So just even police said, like, as far as we're concerned, she wasn't
Yeah. I
strung
mean,
out on drugs. She didn't have a drug problem,
maybe the person that did this, because
Yes.
she maybe met that person during that one
Right.
experience, maybe, but like I don't think she was on
Like, there
drugs.
might be a connection in terms of how they know each other. Right, exactly. But
Right.
there's nobody seemed to indicate that Brianna was struggling with substance use. I mean, contrary was true. She was working 2 jobs and she was earning her diploma.
She had to be pretty clear-minded. Yeah.
Yeah, like she even left work when everyone was hanging out at 11:30 because she was like, I have to get some sleep. Like, she was taking her life seriously. And basically, investigators said any involvement with drugs was just conjecture, and they didn't think that really held much weight. But of course, they kept looking into tips just in case. So one anonymous caller reported that Brianna was being held against her will by a drug ring, and they indicated this farmhouse about 11 miles from where Brianna was last seen. And when they raided this farmhouse, they recovered marijuana, cocaine, and at least one gun. And when they interviewed the occupants, they claimed to know Brianna, but they denied knowing where she was.
Mm.
Jillian did know one of the men who lived there because Brianna had brought him over several weeks before she disappeared. And other people had also seen Brianna with this group at parties, but there was no evidence that they were involved in the disappearance, just that they had ties to each other. So, fixated on the drug use track, someone involved in the case told reporters that Brianna owed money for drugs.
Mm.
And a newspaper ran with it. And the headline read, "Police, missing teen has drug debt."
Oh my God.
There was not a single piece of evidence for this claim whatsoever, aside from rumor. And Kelly, her mom, later said, "I don't portray my daughter as an angel. I think she was trying to get her life on track. I think she went to a couple parties, but to come out like this was kind of a way to blame the victim." And I totally agree. It's like saying she disappeared. She has drug debt. First of all, who cares? And also, no. That's bad journalism.
I also just don't buy it. Like, I mean,
It wasn't
who am I
true.
to fucking say? Yeah, okay. Well, great.
It simply wasn't true. So there's outrage, real outrage from family, friends, other people who supported the family. And the newspaper actually published a retraction. The police apologized.
Yeah, but you can't
You can't
unring
undo
the
that.
bell.
No, you
Yeah.
can't unring a bell. It's like hurtful. And interestingly enough, a family whose daughter was also missing contacted the Maitlands, suspecting that maybe the cases were related. This was the case that I covered in episode 8, which also has the honor of being our first fight, which was
What?
when you were mad at me about going to the Queen Mary,
Oh,
because apparently I said I would go with you, and then I forgot, and then I went with my mom.
we obviously resolved that. I think we're fine.
Yeah, fix that eventually. But Maura Murray, she disappeared. She was 21 years old. She had disappeared just 1 month before Brianna in
Wow.
New Hampshire. So pretty close by. And so that Maura Murray's family reached out and said, like, maybe our cases are linked. Like Brianna, Maura was in a car accident when she vanished. Her car was found. She was not. However, a passing motorist stopped to assist Maura and spoke with her before reporting the accident and before Maura vanished. So it was slightly different. She had been seen outside her vehicle.
Okay.
Maura was unharmed, but by the time authorities arrived, she was gone and her car was left there. The cases were eerily similar, but investigators ultimately decided that they were unrelated. Maura remains missing today. Unfortunately, I hate that I have to say that after covering it in episode 8. It's just like a very sobering fact. 2 years passed, and in 2006, someone reported seeing a woman who looked like Brianna playing blackjack at a casino in New Jersey. So Brianna's family reviewed the video, and her brother immediately said it wasn't her, but her mom thought it might be. So the media published the video, hoping the woman in the video could come forward and see if it was Brianna, but no one responded. So the Maitlands had to decide if this was worth pursuing or not. So Kelly agonized because she was like, I haven't seen my daughter in 2 years. Like, maybe she's
Oh my
grown
God.
or cut her hair. Like, maybe I'd
Or maybe she's trying to hide from whoever.
something.
Or even like I think about Elizabeth Smart, who they were disguising her in public at
Right,
some
like
point.
abducted. And I think the other part of it is that, like, you know, she wants it to be her daughter, but she also doesn't want to waste a lead, like a resource,
Right.
if it's not her, and she's just having wishful thinking. So she really has to say, like, is this an avenue I want to
Oh, that's so
proceed
terrible.
down? Is it
Because then
worth
if you say
it?
no, part of you is going to think like I should have done
checked?
this. Oh,
Exactly. So
God,
she's
what a torture.
agonizing. And so she doesn't know what to do, but editors are actually able to enhance, you know how much I love when they say that.
I love when they do it, especially in the 90s and everything turns out high
It's just, like,
definition.
amazing.
And
It's like-
Elliot Stabler is like somehow not impressed.
It's amazing how they zoom in and it gets sharper every time. And I'm like, that's not how pixels work. Like, the further you zoom in, the not clearer it
Especially
gets.
when they zoom in from space. That's
Yeah,
my
they're
favorite.
like,
When they're like,
enhance.
let me zoom in on this blade of grass from Mars. Oh my God, I can see every microbe on
It's
it.
as if somebody CGI'd it into the screen. Yeah. So apparently editors were able to enhance this particular footage, which was really great and also tragic because Kelly could see when Brianna turned her head a certain way that this was not Brianna, just a lookalike.
Oh God,
know,
it's like and it just like with her dad opening up the trunk, it's like, do you want
It's
this
like
to be her or
relief
not?
and also like disappointment. Yeah. It must be the most conflicting feeling, you know? Like, you want to get answers, but you don't want specific answers.
Also, like, how many times can you be kicked when you're down? Like, how much defeat can you take? Like,
Yeah.
eventually, it's just crazy making to be
It
like,
must
where
just-
the fuck is she?
It must just be like so gutting, like you don't even
Yeah.
know what to do. So yeah, like basically what you said, they're back to square one. So in
Again.
2016, now we're fast forwarding about 12 years, investigators announced that they had recovered DNA from items recovered in and around Brianna's vehicle.
Okay.
So in 2022, now that was 6 years after that, police announced that the DNA matched one of 11 individuals they had spoken to throughout the investigation. However, they said the DNA is not enough to make that individual a suspect. And they won't comment on any other evidence collected because it's an active, ongoing investigation.
Oh, okay.
So, as of March of 2024, and just for context right now, folks, as we record, it's January 2025. In March of 2024, which was 20 years since Brianna was last seen, The FBI offered up a $40,000 reward for information leading to Brianna.
My God.
And her father believes she's no longer living, but of course still wants answers.
Yeah, I hope so.
And he said, I don't think she's still out there walking around, but for as long as I'm alive, I'll do everything to find her. I mean, it just sounds like it's just their whole lives get taken over by this.
No, I
loss.
mean, you never get to just have a happy,
there's
like a
nothing.
fully fulfilling.
You just can't. Yeah, it's like
Your
the
world's
closure.
just on a totally
when the
different
closure's not there,
access.
I
Yeah.
can't. It's totally different access. You just like sounds terrible.
Yeah, and even if it's like I just want I just want to know, like at
Good
this
or bad,
point,
just an answer to put her to rest, and like to be able to rest yourself.
do they have any personal guesses on what
So,
happened?
yeah, actually, many people still suspect that Brianna was murdered by one of her friends she used to party with. Even like you said, she maybe was not a regular drug user, but occasionally and recreationally. And the people she hung out with, were varying levels of drug users, substance
Hmm.
users. And so who knows if somebody took something or she got mixed up in the wrong dealing. Like, who knows? I mean, people have been murdered for much less. Maybe somebody just wanted to hurt her, or maybe they had a gun and that's why she didn't fight back. You never know. But basically, people suspect that she was murdered by at least her, the primary theory is that somebody she knew, or perhaps an ex, someone personal, had murdered her that night.
Yeah, I do we think that like the car being backed into a wall, do we think like the guy was in the back seat and she was trying to like
I don't know.
get rid of him or something, or
It could have been that. It could have been like maybe she was trying to turn around and accidentally back the car and someone said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll give you a ride." Like, but then also like she wouldn't have left the lights on in the car.
No, I think that I think someone was hiding in her car or carjacked her or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was trying to either intentionally throw the car, like if he was like hiding in the back or something. I think she was trying to either back the car up and hit, like not jostle him, or I think that if someone carjacked her and was sitting in the passenger seat and holding a gun to her, I think there was like a frenzy over like who had control of the wheel,
like
and
jerking the wheel.
Yeah, something happened where it accidentally went, and then he just ended up thinking, okay, well now we don't have a car, I have to drag you away. I think something.
How fucking terrifying.
I think there was,
because you're right. I mean, to leave the car with lights on, signals blinking, crash into a building,
something bad happened in the car,
stuff on the ground, and her nowhere to be seen. Like, that's
something happened in the car. I'm surprised that like the police didn't like look for more evidence in the car, like swab it, like
well,
for,
that's
like,
what happened is they got it towed and then it was too late because they didn't check. I mean, they have stuff that they check for DNA and they have found some DNA, but at the time it was like they could have taken pictures, they could have looked much more closely at the crash itself.
I think, I mean, like, I'm more surprised that there wasn't like a single hair sample or something of someone else in the car, like I don't know. I mean,
well,
I guess
we don't know because it says that they have DNA from recovery in the vehicle, so we don't know if that's a hair. We don't know if that's
just someone's not in the system yet or something.
Well, no, it says that they have hair, or sorry, not hair. They have DNA matching one of the 11 people they spoke with, but just because they have their DNA, it doesn't mean they're a suspect because maybe they rode in the back seat one time on the way to work.
Right,
maybe they were an ex, and of course she was wearing their sweatshirt. It's like even though they know whose DNA it is, they have not announced it, presumably because they're
cleared in some way?
Well, I don't think so. I think they're actively probably they're saying, this person's not a suspect yet, but we're not going to say anything because it's an active investigation. So maybe they have further to test. I mean, I'm hoping, these things move so slow, but I'm hoping that if in March they were, still actively pursuing this, that maybe we'll get some answers. And her dad, for what it's worth, says, I was always concerned about some of her relationships, and those were some of the first things the police looked into. I also spoke with some of those people myself. In the end, those people that I had initially thought might have had something to do with, I no longer believe that. So even he's like, the people that were top of the list, like, just don't make sense to me. And, who would know better, right? Than like...
I think it was a freak accident. I mean, I also like... I'm aware. Who am I to fucking have an opinion on this? But if I were to, like, make up a theory, my first thought would be it was some sort of like carjacking, or she picked up a hitchhiker in the middle of the woods.
Oh God, yeah.
And she was just trying to be nice, but then they got into some sort of fight in the car or struggle
I mean,
in the
good
car.
point. It wouldn't be the first time she's picked up a hitchhiker, right? Like,
I don't know. Or maybe it was someone she even recognized, and she was like, "Oh, get in the car. I'll
yeah,
get
maybe
you
someone needed a
home."
ride or something. You know, who knows?
I don't,
And then they carjacked her or
because it
pulled
doesn't
out
look
a
like
weapon.
it doesn't seem like there was a struggle until leaving the car.
Right.
So I think it was either she was doing something kind, or it seemed like it was a friend of a friend, or maybe it was someone from like that random. Honestly, maybe it was someone from a random. One time she was doing drugs and she didn't know that he
Like an
was
acquaintance.
high as a kite in that moment, and decided
Yeah.
to like, maybe he offered her drugs, she didn't want to take them, and
Maybe
he got mad.
somebody came on to her and she said no. You know, who
Yeah.
knows? Like, I mean, again, one of the least crazy theories, right? Like, what people will do, how people will harm each other. It's just heartbreaking that like there's so many possibilities and we just don't know what it
Yeah.
is. And her family doesn't know what it is. And so I have a couple more bullets left. Basically, in a recent statement, the director of the Vermont State Police said, "We remain as dedicated to this case now as we were when Brianna disappeared. This is not a cold case, it is an unsolved one." So Brianna's family created a Facebook page to uphold the memory of Brianna and draw continued attention to her case, and they hope that, you know, someday someone will maybe report something that seems innocuous but breaks open the case, and, you know, they can finally bring Bri home, whether that be alive or past, and in spirit or in real life, and at least get some closure. So that is the story of Brianna Maitland. And when Saoirse suggested this, I was like, holy shit, because I thought like maybe there'd been some break and that's why it was like, but no, alas. I mean, there has been a break, this DNA, you know, but it's been almost 9 years since that. So
Yeah.
things just take so long, you know. And it's like I wish I could have a Google alert for every case I want to keep up with, but it's like I don't even know
Yeah.
how I would do that.
Man, well, yeah, I hope that I don't think there's a way that her parents could ever have full closure, or her brother, but I hope they're okay.
I know, me too.
Hopefully it's a story you will give us an update on one day, and it will
That
be a
would
positive
be
update.
And Maura Murray, man, I would really like to I would like to see those families get some closure. I would. Some
Yeah.
answers.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Heartbreak but Intrigue. And
Love it.
if you for some reason like to hear us talking and you'd like to hear us talk more, you can head on over to our Yappy Hour. You could also see us talk live if you want to go buy tickets for our live show. That feels like a weird plug, so close to Such a Sad Story. But if you want us in your ear holes, there are other places you can find us beyond this episode. And
as of right now, you can probably hit JD Vance's followers, and we're probably on there again, even though I've unfollowed like 3 times. So yeah, no, you can follow us ATWWD podcast for as long as we're on any platform. I don't know anymore what is happening in the world.
You can find us on TikTok if you'd like to hear some weird, if you want
Uncanny Valley,
some Uncanny Valley versions of us. And yeah, we'll see you over at Yappy Hour. Yeah.
See you there.
And
oh wait, sorry. I want to add for
What?
Yappy Hour, I have brand new Victorian photographs I bought from an estate sale, so I'll be showing those.
So if you'd like a show and tell as your palate cleanser from these stories, you can head over there. And
That's
why
we
drink.